Hey everybody, today we are at the airport, that's right, and we're on our way to Las Vegas to a place called Fat Sal's to take on the Big Fat Fatty Sandwich Challenge. Now this is a 12 to 13 pound challenge with a short 40-minute time limit. I will become one of the very few select people to have beaten it if I can get it done. Let's go and find out if I can. All right, guys, so we've made it to the infamous Fremont Street here, and we're just headed into Fat Sal, so let's go on in and check it out.
Yeah, I'm getting tired and just this 1 hour. I think it's about it. I feel like I'm really messed up my sheep today, you know, that's the energy right now.
Vegas sandwich in Vegas.
Jesus Christ, man.
All right, guys, so here it is, the
This is actually something.
absolutely massive Big Fat Fatty here at Fat Sal. So I'm gonna try and remember everything they've got on here because there is so much. We're gonna start off with the cheesesteak. There was around 3 pounds of cheesesteak. They had cheeseburgers, which had the burgers with the cheese, 12 of those patties, 12 slices of cheese. We all over the top, eating it, either number 2 or number 3 ranked eater in the world as well. So, and also Brazil's #1 eater in the world. So great company there if I'm able to join them. But if not, I'm gonna enjoy this delicious meal here. I've got 40 minutes to do it, so wish me luck, guys. Hope you guys are hungry. I'm pumped. Let's eat. Okay, guys, here we go on the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Scott eats. What is up, everyone? Today I am at Fat Sal's in Las Vegas, taking on their legendary Big Fat Fatty Sandwich Challenge, which is the biggest solo food challenge in the city. Oh, this absolute monster of a sandwich has got 10 smash burgers, 8 slices of cheese, about 3 or 4 pounds of cheesesteak, 12 chicken fingers, 20 onion rings, a basket of fries, 12 mozzarella sticks, 12 strips of bacon, all stacked on that 30-inch garlic hero roll and smothered in their signature fat sauce. So just a quick heads up, guys, this one does get a little bit messy. I was dealing with some mild congestion from flying and travel, so breathing was a little off during the challenge, but I just wanted to give you the heads up before we dive in. This one has only ever been completed by a handful of professional eaters, and plenty of others have either failed it or avoided it altogether. It definitely has its reputation as being one of the elite challenges in the world. All right, 10 minutes in. Woo, still a lot to go. So some context for you guys, James Webby, who is Australia's #1 eater, beat this beast in 33 minutes and 23 seconds, which is an incredible pace. What do you guys think? Can I beat this as well? I want to know what your predictions are in the comments down below. Saving room. Excuse me. If I do manage to finish it, I'll get my $100 back, a sweet swag bag, and most importantly, Fat Sal's ultimate respect. Now, they used to let you name a sandwich if you completed it, but I'm not sure if that's still a thing. All right, 16 minutes in.
Oh my god, I fucking did it. I don't fucking believe it, man. This guy is incredible. Joel is like, good job, bro. It's even worse. Yeah, this is definitely interesting.
What's up, guys? Today we're in Las Vegas. We're back at Fat Sal's, but this time by your request.
It's a bucket. It's actually
Alright guys, so here we are back at Fat Sal's. This time we're here to do their big fat shake, and this thing is gigantic. So not only do we have the 60 scoops of ice cream in here that came with nuts, peanuts, it had Oreos, it had chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, all kinds of delicious sweet stuff here. We've also got the 4 pieces of chocolate, actually no, 6 pieces of chocolate cake on top. We've got 2 slices, full slices of cheesecake, 2 Hershey milk bars, 2 pretzels. We've got the M&Ms around the outside here, and then it's topped with a little whipped cream. So, oh, and I can't forget our Reese's Pieces pieces on the side here. So we have only 10 short minutes to do this, and only one winner has been declared so far. So looking forward to getting into this. Wish me luck, guys. I'm gonna need it. This is a lot of food in a short amount of time. Hope you guys are hungry.
10 minutes?
I'm pumped. Let's drink. All right, I'm not sure exactly what my strategy is gonna be here. I think I'm gonna leave a glove off and then try and get the wrappers. And then once I get the wrapper stuff done, then I will put the glove on my other glove. So, okay. On the count.
Yeah,
4, 3, 2, 1, begin. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. We're back at Fat Sal's in Las Vegas, and this time we're here to take on the Big Fat Shake by your request. Now, only James Webb has ever finished it, and he just placed 3rd at Nathan, so let's see if this is even possible. All right, so far so good. So we've got just 10 minutes to finish this approximate 12 to 14 pound shake. And if we do beat it, the meal's free.
Oh,
and reportedly we get to create our own shake. But if we lose, it's the wall of shame and a steep $108 price tag. It was good. Now this is easily one of the sweetest challenges that I've done in a long time. The chocolate cake was so moist and fresh that it literally fell apart.
Nope.
Well guys, you saw that I dropped a piece of cake there. Well, at least a part of one anyways, but will that ultimately cost me the win? We're gonna have to wait and find out. And honestly, up to this point, I thought it was gonna be the top that was going to be the hardest. I figured that once I got to the bottom, it was gonna be smooth sailing, but I might have been wrong. Super thick. Well, the top half is hitting me really hard right now. I had those 6 dense slices of chocolate cake, 2 rich cheesecakes, 2 full-size Hershey bars, a big pack of M&Ms, and tons of icing sugar. There was also the peanut butter cups, marshmallows, whipped cream, and pretzel sticks. And yeah, it was a lot. Excuse me. Excuse me. Well, at this point, things seem to be going very well. However, I have added some hot water to try and cut out some of the thickness. Bottom half is absolutely brutal. There was 30 scoops of vanilla ice cream, 30 chocolate, caramel and chocolate syrup, chunks of dark milk chocolate. We've got Oreos, graham crackers, and a full tub of peanuts. At this point, I was really starting to doubt if I could finish. Well, this gentleman clearly has more confidence than I do right now. At this point, with all of those chocolate chunks still staring up at me, I'm seriously questioning whether I'm actually going to make it through it. But what do you guys think? Does it look like I'm going to pull this off? And even if I do, will that drop piece of cake come back to haunt me? Or am I going to have to eat it off of the ground? What do you guys think would be fair?
Ooh, all the chunks at the bottom.
Alright guys, thank you for joining me on this crazy video here back at Fat Sal's. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button and stay tuned to the rest of the challenge to see if I'm able to complete it.
Is that it, or?
You have some left on? No. We have this here.
We're getting out of time.
Yeah. Pick it up.
Okay.
All right, guys, so there you go, the Fat Sal's Big Fat Milkshake Challenge.
I thought it was gonna be 30 minutes, man. That would put him in a diabetic coma. You know what? I can skill. I'm allowed to skill on this account. Or let's go RuneScape. I'll take a little break, maybe 30 minutes of skilling. If our agility isn't what I do something cool. I'm gonna put my book into TTS. I'm starting to merge with agility course, so let's take a break, So I feel like I'm ringing a ring around the rosy, like a carousel. But I went above a little bit. Let's not listen to that part.
James was ready to travel to Arkspire.
Oh yeah, I should say something about the beginning. It's a book about a Giga Chad looking guy, James, in a medieval setting that beats the crap out of everyone with superior size and fighting magical abilities. It's a V-shaped human twins between shoulders and arms like trees, square buttocks, chiseled veins. He is smart. He has a black body. 2.2 meters tall and 70 kilos of muscle. Actually, like Ronnie Coleman and the very biggest bodybuilders that win Miss Olympia are around 160, and he's supposed to be bigger anyway. Yeah, that's just gonna make everything much better.
James was ready to travel to Arkspire. He would adore a culture such as the dwarves, he thought, like he liked visiting Paris.
Dwarf capital.
James was ready to travel to Arkspire. He would adore a culture such as the dwarves, he thought, like he liked visiting Paris or Madrid. Well, he was going to teleport. He was rich. A ha rich of rivers of gold like gold rush connoisseurs. The potion was golden and had a dwarf king on the lid. Smash. He exited a ring of Oz.
Honestly, I want to skill on my Tileman, I think. I don't want to do any skill. I'm not doing any fishing on this account right now.
He exited a ring of osmium, onyx and opal. Interesting. He saw a dwarf army. They were sons of Magellan. They had thick plates of 4 times 8 centimeters small plates chained together over a chainmail. Bendy chainmail on the arms, gold and iron signated helmets, short girthy warhammers. They were riding on giant pot-belly pigs, black and grey. Their bellies were a centimeter off the ground. High cholesterol and cancer risk just like their food, but they didn't live to be 150 like the dwarves. Others had pikes riding on bears with golden horns and somewhat golden round shields. The animals jumped around obediently. What is your business here? Shopping. Don't go near the hearth of melting hearth melt. I don't know where it is. Don't worry, it's in a restricted area. James scratched his head, walking a little bit as they rode on. He did not come to a spire, but downwards. A giant dwarven architectured hole. They had mined and delved over 3,000 years. The city was partly built to the walls, into the walls of levels, underground, and then they delved even more deeper. 100,000 lived in the deep and dank, feeding the cave beasts and ignoring the sun, its promise of serotonin. James went down giant stairs, winding left, right, left a bit off the wall. A lava stream lit the walls underfoot. Already there were corridors into the walls, buildings stood out partly, with symbols golden, large and rectangular, plateaus as well. As far as he could see in this 900 diameter by 1400 meter deep perfect hole, there were pristine houses, halls of spear, bears, throwing dwarf weaponry, berserkers, fire elemental dragons, sulphurous dragons, half-dragon half-lizards, super-armored titanium dragons that spewed lava burning over time, runekeepers, dwarves made and crushed runes for their powers in combat, and thanes. Halls of drinking before and after battle, some hops grew next to distilleries even without the sun. There was dwarven beer and spirit of every kind. The famous names had their factories here, large and small competitive delicacy. Surprising liver bomb, Valhalla's 106, Dungeon Master's Draft, Short Stack Lager and the Girthy Gargantuan. James passed many opportunities to drink. Eventually he settled in a place hunched over, watching a small street drinking that was a very barley-heavy and dark ale. Dwarf Guinness. He was defeated analyzing his surrounding dwarves. They had proper smitheries, melting every ore in double-efficient furnaces, technique that required less coal. Thanes were big and fat, related to dwarves. They were used in battle for their affiliation to air and fire magic, and size. Chain lightning exerted from their weapons, firewalls and fire in their wake. 2.5 meters tall and 2 meters wide, often shirtless and red-skinned. Spear-wielding berserkers feared no enemy exempt from tricks of the mind, preventing their relentlessness, and with dwarf magic and helmets, they were immune to mind magic. They could go crazy and fought sometimes with brass knuckles. Runekeepers used ranged magic like magical cross comets, reduced their fire resistance, rune words as additional spells, fireball and conjuration magic. They had mechanical artillery dwarves more than... They had mechanical...
Well, who cares about the tiles right now? Basically the entire area is covered because I have 300 tiles and won't move anywhere.
They had mechanical artillery dwarves more than bow and arrow. Lots of siege weapons, firing giant crossbows, which only downside was the aim, scorpions, small trebuchets and fiery siege catapults for enemies not forts. Dwarf King headed rams. There were wall-climbing siege towers and explosive traps. Moving wood animals filled with TNT, chemistry and fire. The bottom of the stairs felt like elevating the ground. He saw opulent detailed grey and gold roads with more Japanese-looking gates. They had prospered from the wealth of the land. Luxurious capital was fortuitous. Lots of shops for dwarven craft and tourists. Small weapons or two-handed. He went through wells that spiritually told of huge toad monsters and many craftsmen and armorers looking his way happily after customers for a few seconds. In the middle of the giant Chinese-looking dwarven square was a teleport hub, lodestone and 6 bending spires into a lowering of elevation. It looked melted and frozen. Wizards and elves and cosmopolitan dwarves teleported thus. Maybe it was not for outsiders like him. Stranger hospitality is never 100% like friends. But it can be easy to become one with the elusive Vikings or Valkyries or dwarves. People look for a kind of belonging and loyalty, sometimes without difficult testing. But it's the kind of loyalty that requires little speaking and simple answers, doesn't it? Concerning for a penetrating thinker like James, he would have a different testing. Egregious and conscious of tricks, exerting and thorough. Sometimes thinkers can feel loyalty is done inefficiently, not because they're immoral, but there are just so many more important thinker things to do. Loyalty done inefficient is auxiliary in thinking, like teenagers' best pop broads boards. Many people had indeed counted James among the loyal, trustworthy and reliable, but he had been leisurely, as a genius waiting for something more complicated and fitting. Loyalty is easy to some and for some, but if you're not honest about the process you might be snuffed out all the same. Loyalty to friends is something more sacred for our character James, in this book. Underground where it was, more luxurious halls, large of gold and grey iron, flat cobblestone, magical lightning roaring like a fissure, a land hidden from tall onlookers. Furnace-looking lightning was actually not furnaces. They made grand gorgeous. The halls could be 100 times 100 meters large and 50 meters off the ground, most luxury. They had mastered fishing in the cave systems and murk, deep-sea fishing platforms with magical merman harpoons, ballistas shooting heavy considerably ugly fish. There were sailfish of 3 kinds, fastest in the waters, delicious murk turtles, cavefish pale but not fat, nutritious and cheap. They had temples mostly golden or entire religious houses made of gold, or combinations of other precious resources, mined not far away. The richest dwarves lived in a gated community which James thought was concerning and offensive. Politically he thought, was he not fine enough to live in a gated community like them? As a bodybuilder giant like Ronnie Coleman James bent curious heads, barely fitting or crouching in less scented capital. It seemed half of the time the architecture was big enough for other races, but at least he could be black as Vanta Black, elves for example, were commonly assholes against dwarves. Ronnie Coleman made James think insane thoughts, like getting up to eat during the night, say lightweight to peanut-sized 400 kilogram squats, and that's heavyweight. Consequently, it made perfect sense. A small-town cop like him with genetics so good he won professional bodybuilding competitions without steroids was one of James' idols. He connected mind and body, lightweight and peanut. Leg pressing 650 kilograms, James could only do 2 times actually. Now there was a way of steroids and human monster without the consequences. Time to become limitless. He would live to be big, as biceps and personality. To a clerk where the miners and smithers clock into work, he asked for Albert the Starsmith. They said at the end of the Hellforge Auburn 7 and Sky searching. James went through the mining district. It was white sleek steel around light green rooftops. They had small pits of mithril, coal, adamant, and gold, dragonbane rocks 50% black, abyss black and white emerald. Excellent weapons against vampires too, gemstones containing purple sapphire, ruby even dragon crystal, something they exported to elves so they could make crystal potions and triple potion flasks ridiculously advanced. Like a drinking
Yeah, we got 96 agility. I can take a small break. I'll get right back to it though.
Like a drinking horn replenishing mana that never could be fully drunk as long as there were seas. There were walls of sandstone, clay and granite, dwarves mined on ropes and stairs made in the material, or they had small carts hanging on ropes that were fit for elevating. They enjoyed the deeply over the white steel slopes. Things turned pretty damp and more dangerous in the unspoken deep, so thoroughly truly in there you found dinosaur-like creatures breathing fire and acid, like the headbutt hunk smashing its head, though pretty much no aggravation.
Can I add something to write down? To warn miners of toxic air went through the mines in pockets, and this reason had not small songbirds, but a giant almost golden hummingbird. Could write it, and it sometimes did.
They enjoyed the deeply over the white steel slopes. Things turned pretty damp and more dangerous in the unspoken deep, so thoroughly truly in there you found dinosaur-like creatures breathing fire and acid, like the headbutt hunk smashing its head, though pretty much no aggravation, related to goats or the presumptuous Pasape. Your mind weakened as greed filled the insane membrane, with pressure in the skull and your best sanity timer. They would go deeper, and still try but insanity test the confident. Flowing gold, silver and platina had been found, flowing through thick. They flowed from deposit to deposit, only a few active unless collected. Routinely the dwarves switch from deposit and deposit. They had found black stone and clay golems getting upset and smashing if you mind. They looked like they had valuables deep in them, but it was just a trick. 5 sizes of intelligence and mountain magic. The dwarves skillfully mostly avoided him even if they could fight. Spiritual foxes could be seen entering and exiting small crevices. Aliens, some said the dwarves. He chugged
So nice, I can't wait to move on to the magic dreams.
He chugged his steroid potion and continued onto the wilderness mine, a coal, charcoal and onyx history. It was the lowest paid, lowest ranked mine requiring the least skill and dwarf blood. He saw some lowly black elves and clay-colored black-eared imps serving their prison sentence thus. At the end of giant forges with 6 anvils in a circle and 6 holes into the furnace, walls somewhat dividing them, he saw Albert. He was balding with a 5-knotted silver beard wide down to his belt. The 5 knots went into silver bracelets. His face looked like that of a barbarian and a Napoleon-like leader. Greetings, Master Dwarf. Greetings, Black Tower in the chessboard of triceps and steroids. I know your cousin Arnold. I'm the pretty one, and smart one, and I have a better beard. He's got a good reputation in London now, with an elf apprentice. He's got a good reputation in London now, with an elf apprentice. It must be the elf who is a genius. My cousin can make some good armor, but he never understood the finer crafts, like a race car driver fully understanding physics ACHHW. I want the best gear possible. I want to make an order. I can pay 15% more for haste and maybe a dwarf telling me about this deepness. It's £4,000 per piece and weapon. You meant Fateweave shooting Maestar armor. I can make 100 orders. I ransacked the dragon's nest before the mithril dragons spit their flame. All right, knight, I can be your smith and paid guide. Feels like I want to say I'm not greedy though. I do this for the craft mostly. Nice salary and history. Gold and arrogance has its limitations. Its power can't transcend and you keep nothing when you die. I want this 3 meters katana reinforced shooting star, full plate armor -1 arm, morning star, 2 daggers, double AXE like an S on one side, pole arms looking like this one I'm carrying. Some throwing axes. I have a shooting star double AXE lying around waiting to be bought. It increases your magic like a conduit. Same price as a regular one, expensive. I dwarf. Consider it's done already, Black Knight. What's a little hammering? I'll get on it. What's the clothing you have there? Excellent light armor, carbon fiber. An armor of the future. Can I have some? Maybe I should study it. It's about the connections of coal to coal at a very small level. Diamond has the most. There you go. You should grow a beard so people don't think you're a woman. Maybe a curly moustache. Learn some fire magic from the Thanes while you wait here. They don't feel listened to here and respect gym humans. He went through massive halls, tall to roof, far from all things inside, horizontal bridges over horizontal bridges leading into more glorious halls of different elevations. He went through giant kingly forges that looked like it would be operated by giants. There were basements of basements with treasure. The closest thing was the dragon's treasure room. At the Thane quarters, which were fire and elemental lightning, there was a teal and lightning glowing spectre 20 diameter times 80 with circular teal stairs most merry way, then they cut off. You had to swing with a chain or grapple across to ascend high levels several times. What's up, Biggie Small Thanes? What's up, Muscle Balloon? A fire Thane with a burning hand said with an impossibly deep voice. The stairs lead to nothing. What's the point of that? He pointed. They're stairs of ascension. They tell you about evolving and clues to the next step. You can't comprehend to get further than you can. It's about not lingering with mistakes your heart regrets, I think. At the top there is turning into energy. It's not naught. My brain tickles and is elevated as I purify my past selves mistakes of 1,000 generations samurai. Negative moral stubbornness keeps us still because ascension is about understanding emotion in the set of strengths, experiences and shortcomings we are born with. Not being the most clever scientist. Understand and accept how the circumstances are fine, and your place. Figure it out before you die, Mr. Muscle. Not necessary the toilet cleanser. Fate is something based in concrete birth predisposition, I say as well. Enough strength, brains carves the unusual way of fate. Like zigzagging through danger. If you monger your brain and biceps, you can alter your fate. Why don't you feel listened to, Thanes? Our culture is thus. Peace in lack of war, art and culture in dwarf holes, disrespected as brutal by elves and barbarians, but we are no more killing than humans or savage as omnivores. Who are we to care for when we bludgeon and languish? There is war every time peace fails. There is cunning, brain and brawn. Atrocities fit in war. We can't control every Thane. You want us on your side through as diplomacy fails. The diplomacy climate is sour half the time anyway. I want to learn your special magic. We teach thunder magic as well. You're like us, so no charge this time, Jim Human. At the Thane's shooting range there were furnaces making rock glow and anvils, a very furnace feeling overall. Like inside a short-tempered volcano. The Fire Thanes had white ponytails and wizard beards. The Thunder Thanes had shorter beards, blonde and light blue glowing eyes like smoking teal. This fire plume is close and is earth magic. Do you have the earth magic experience required? Eld Clot, you put your fist into the ground. Think about earth channeling, use an earthquake technique, say it. Eld Clot, follow through the earth and boom, a deadly fire plume erupts where you aimed. With Toadsburg's strenuous training he learned this, but aiming took a lot of concentration like holding onto a wild leash. It is high damage, high mana cost. We usually engage after one ranged strike. Muscle Balan, bellowed a Thunder Thane, listen closely, I won't repeat myself. For humans it's futile to use chain lightning like I can hear with my eyes. Enchant your battle axe permanently with chain lightning using a topaz or sapphire. Use little mana to chain strike. Make your gem burst one time into devastating red-white thunder like Zeus' fingers. What are those weapons you have there? Naganatas, a curved blade on a spear is excellent. Bigger pointy end. Ask the dwarves if you want to buy one. What's that book on the pedestal? It's an unreading book, read it to lose a skill at random. Takes a long time really makes you think about not reading it. I'm not tempted I think, what about that one next to it on the next pedestal? Don't read it, it's the book that instantly kills you in 40 minutes. That's how long it takes to read it. So 40 minutes after I start reading it. No, you can stop at any time. Anything else? These are some glasses that do not increase your vision, but makes you look blurry to everyone else. He did ask Albert to make a...
I could do that, maybe. From reading the instant book. Adorns every day like a poet that they have broken up again. But I want it too funny to be depressed, you know. It's just like it's not very funny, is it?
He did ask Albert to make a Naginata, but he was more concerned getting access to the bottom capital lodestone. There turned out to be 3 things he could do: prove loyal with enough time, pay enough, 1,000 new dwarven coins, or win a 1 versus 1 versus an Arkspire military dwarf. This afternoon he could, an entertaining ring match versus a blackguard dwarf. It was a smaller arena with open corridors and fine architecture like spires and Japanese-looking wood. It was dank, maybe hard to breathe, claustrophobic. It was a standard match. The dwarf threw axes, James clad himself absolutely. He was ferocious with battle axes. James honored the 1 versus 1 with an axe and warhammer. They swung, sidestepped and parried, danced defensively and struck patiently. James threw an axe that the dwarf headbutted. His warhammer he charged fire and impact magic into, gleaming, glorious, glowing molten. The dwarf went ferocious to end the game, but as James' muscles grew ever larger and the arena was set on fire with the immolation aura, the dwarf started to run for it. He's an expert. This isn't standard to expectation. James shot his warhammer like a railgun and it easily knocked the dwarf around and gobsmacked him unconscious after doing some laps like a ballerina. They gave him a port key that was like a keychain that distorted time and space. It bent into nothingness at the right angle and fit 100 keys being pulled and rung right. If opened inwards, it would double in size, revealing more and then more. Heavy with the chains as a silent, proud dwarf lady fit the opal key into the right place. The opal Arkspire stone is a double portkey. The other side, when you twist 2 turns and push in, leads to the barbarian cosmopolitan city Infinite Reincarnation. Teleport thus. Our muscly man entered a wooden village with many elevations and a market with a tiny river canals flowing through, small enough not to wet your feet if you walked. The barbarians were wide, the women looked like men and the men too. Ponytails, pigtails, Viking.
But not smart not to wet your feet longer if you walked.
The barbarians were wide, the women looked like men and the men too. Ponytails, pigtails, Viking helms, round shields, brown, black, white leather and fur. Blonde and ginger but not feminine and round, maybe like where he came from. He popped into a longhouse with antlers of every kind. You look like one of us, where do you hail? Said a ginger barbarian.
Giants and monsters. But antlers.
You look like one of us. Where do you hail? Said a ginger barbarian with cloven beard accented Irish. No, I just like lifting heavy weight, London mercenary and adventurer. Tell me about barbarians, I'm also a historian. It's a stereotype that we're stupid, said a blonde axe guard. It's a stereotype I can't get Lorena to bed, said Jonathan. Jonathan is fucking stupid, said a slayer in a black monster hunting clothes. The wheel is turning but the hamster is dead, said his slayer brother. They had large potato noses and black mullets over rough faces. They looked professional through. We reign over the eternal golem and the seven planes, said a brutal brown-haired face with silver magical tiara, royal and elevated on a throne with animal skulls. Take a look with the hawk's eyes. Oscar the village combat Huskell tapped twice with his magical axe and James had the eyes of a hawk and saw golem overhead. They had villages and forests in the back of a walking kilometers high golem. Its arms and legs had kilometers of hollow between some places but seemed connected invisibly. The land on its 7 shoulders made for 7 plains. Its head had a sea in its skull and waterfalls for eyes. On his flat highest back they laid. We are the eternal barbarians, train with us, buy some combat lessons, blades and weapons. Eat the eternal boars, can be slaughtered thus return tomorrow. Study the poetry, it's brutal. Enjoy the giant golem taxi, fight us in tournaments. We specialize in throwing axes, throwing spears, knives. It's pretty peaceful here, honestly. I'm mostly interested in our colony for trading in Italian shores. The Arctic colony is shit. Arctic colony. Take a gander in ass-freezing ice hell. It is on the North Pole and connected to another plane. Another plane. Ahenger, planet subjugation. Open your keychain Onyx Barbarian. He put an ice-colored key except for the middle that was whiter and beautiful. I'm all for the hype, but first I'd learn about barbarian combat. Fight me or you're a double pansy, you have to do it, said Jonathan. Maybe you do have to fight
Write the fighting scene just because he said that.
Maybe you do have to fight Jonathan actually, we don't like spilling the beans. Unless baked beans, said Huskell. He fights like a cunt, but wins, said one of the brothers Black. After walking After walking in the hostile barbarian mood, they went into an arena of low hollow wood and many had played games in, before. James went for a wide robot arm shield on his left and glaive shield on his right. Jonathan came fast and strong. Oh hoo-ha, so scary, Jonathan said like a blonde cunt. He struck strongly into his right shield with 2 axes, again. Thus, another attack. Ferocious Jonathan looked handsome as he knocked back James a little with each swing, hair waving. James practiced defense. He was charging his knee with lightning and impact magic. You think you're so strong, Jim Human, you only think so, ha-ha. Stupid little broth chugger. Jonathan with youthful strength hewed an axe into James' face cheeks. It was completely absorbed by absolute unit. I'll show you the difference between you and my power. I'll show you the difference between you and my power, he said epically. He tore his armor apart with his glaive shield and jumped, kneeing him in the chest. The lightning stunned his body a second, then he flew like he was hit by a star, 50 meters per second east, his body smoked black and his consciousness was faint. Nice one shot in it, said the Black brothers about the same time. I'll show you a lesson for 80 quid, said the wider brother comically and eagerly. Something real barbarian I've been cooking. James paid, saying nothing. So what you're doing here is that you have 2 magical winged axes, they replenish in your hand instantly, can have many copies in the air, generous spell, you keep barraging your enemies at range till they come close, then you grievous whirlwind with the same weapons out. Like this, the brother spun around like an ad twister, and at speeds to make him a blur. My brother sells you the replenishing magical long-headed axes, not infinite in stock. James practiced, and thus like a barbarian he learned the grievous dance. It took 60 minutes. You might want to help our Prince of the Throne Oslo. He's gone to slay an impossible task. JYMR of the Frost Giants on the 7 feet th plane, and Jacqueline to cure the depression of an impossible pessimist. Alistair ego, said Oscar, cunning and cold like a raven. Inspired by real depression. We told him there's no killing a 10-meter square giant, but he's going to risk everything to prove he's a man, dead man. We barbarians are very insecure about being a man, big arms, everyone has to be the same. And so many are not just born bulky. You're lucky you have the respect of the men. I command the respect of everyone, then I back it up with competence. There's always a bigger fish. There's always a bigger barbarian. First he went to Jacqueline. He travelled to the head of the golem, alive like a sun. He took a longboat to the island of Mirth, mistily and secret. Alistair lived in an expensive almost mansion. It was posh, pompous and presumptuous. He laid on a puffy couch with just one back relief, a cider roll. Next was unsick Jacqueline. She was black-haired, what looked like a theatre writer, compact braids down her sides. She seemed introverted but was as social as responsibility. Take me to the restaurant. I must roast someone who thinks they're something. James dramatically entered and put his knuckles on hips. I was sent by Oscar. There is lack of time and help surely needed. Did I mention this is pointless? It is pointless, said Alistair. I don't trust people instantly, said Jacqueline. No one really does, I think, but I have enough intellect to not be roasted by Alistair. You must be smarter than me. I am smarter than geniuses clutching theories of half of everything. Very well, you have my bare patience until you say something stupid. How do you figure out depression? Well, first we can check if there's no way it's pointless to have become thus, something that invalidates cures. Be logically open. I am depressed because I am pathetic, except my mind. I admit it. I am useless and unchivalrous, physically weak and not nice with people. I have never admitted, people don't like me. All you need to not be depressed is a genius mind. Find your confidence. Correcting people feels super. People think they do things correctly. All I have are my poetry, game, music and food reviews. This is something to feel good about. You should not feel average either. I will destroy the 5 Fat Chefs restaurant in spite. I can do it, he said, dark and motivated. Jacqueline made him lay down again. Gather your senses. We must go anyways. It's the only thing that means anything right now. In the islands of Mirth they really had one of the best restaurants, 5 Fat Chefs. For those can find it. Inside a mansion-looking restaurant of tall red and red-purple colors, they had 5 overweight...
That could... Yeah, I just wrote this part. It seems good. Let's not mix time.
Inside a mansion-looking restaurant of tall red and red-purple colors, they had 5 overweight chefs standing with 5 pans and different-looking cooking knives.
On the wall.
There's Machete. He is insane, but finds and cooks the best wild game, steak and potatoes. Surf and turf. The fattest one in the middle had 3 double chins. His chins were wider than his face. Was 300 kilos with 2 long hat. They had different disproportional hats, but when they stayed together they reached an even height. It's the best, succulent food that has made him fat. Nothing cheap has touched his gourmand lips. There's Albert Long. He's retarded, studied at the best universities for law as a genius, but stopped it for culinary school. He's so technical you forget to taste sometimes or can't find what to look for first. He's sauce, soup, garnish and puree masterchef. The soup is so meat brothy and...
I forgot the name.
He's sauce, soup, garnish and puree masterchef. The soup is so meat brothy and good you don't need another dish to be complete. He makes the food look like art. Some of his paintings can be seen in the rooms. Not bad. It's also the cheapest on the menu, 7 quid. We have Homerose, which insists on only making vegetarian food and dishes. He can compete with the meaty dishes. You have never tasted nuts or cheese before. Fat, cheesy, light gnocchi you will order. He's offended people think he needs to compete even with meat. Indian mother. Triathlete Thomas handles the carbohydrates, towers of croquettes, rivers of mash. Yes, he's got competitive triathlete times despite being fat. Must have good genetics. Let's order the strawberry cherry guava smoothie with alcohol-free almanac wine first, said Jacqueline, now concerned with enjoying herself besides helping. They sat down at a table not with cloth, but art, cleaned magically. We guarantee nothing healthy from this point on, said the servitor, young and dressed in grey. Could have done without the guava, said Ego. Let's start with the soup first, there's the logic to it, said Jacqueline. They had a brothy soup with flavorful sauce, small amount of beans and lentils, thyme. You can see the saturated fat as circles, said James intelligently. You say you keep
Not completely written together yet.
You say you keep having these strange thoughts. I feel like I'm not completely alone in my mind, asking insanely there for the biscuits isn't me. Is there something that wants to feel a specific dark way? You might be tormented by a Stregobor Harkenleshen. It will not only feed on your dark, surrendering emotions but also your intellect. For the first time Alistair was motivated not to be depressed. James travelled to the 3 feet road plain through a savannah more than plain. He saw idiot lions that weren't always too dangerous. Their faces were longer and uglier, like a totemic mask. Better not take any risks through. Protect they did competently through, instinctively or maybe sensitive. Barbarian hares or barb, eris were 1 meter and had longer ears. They were hunted a lot, but were the premier herbivore. Mountains. And sharp cliffs, dotted with bright colors. He zigzagged through the plain's annoying stops to go ever straight. He found a barbarian longboat traveling interplanetary, through the giant space-time goats. They screamed deafly, and who know what they meant. James was not a goat whisperer. An icier plain was coming. There were frost moths and frosty butterflies. He remembered these from a book, with a kind of pushing recipe, deep frying spell. He caught a furry frostmoth and put it into a jar with the frying. Crunchiness of a nature reserve hunter. James put half the moth in his mouth and looked funny like a fake moustache. It tasted like some protein you could get used to, very smooth. After climbing a mountain to some caves, there sat Oslo crouching. Greetings, Barb. I'm here from your house to help you slay JYMR. Will you accept my help? He had orange fish's beard, looks like a huntsman with orange ponytail. Is it so crazy? They sent help. I don't know you actually. Where are you from? Afrikaan. I fought him, but he got away. He cleansed his axe from the blood. How hard was the 1 versus 1? I need to know this for myself too. About 50 to 50 I win. Don't get hit by the giant's strength. He continued, this is the lair of the ever-chilling frost giants and knights. Cold metalwork. The most expensive minerals and materials can be mined here. There's no one here.
We're seeing them coming back in there.
There's no one here right now. Healing weave. He pulled a professional-looking aid through the left cheek. Your triceps wound looks like it's battle-heated. He put it around. I can swing fine. They went through a mountain entrance that they could have easily missed and found cold forges with anvils and blue minerals. Around were pickaxes and mining equipment. They smashed through and efficiently, pouring when sapphire lead, super platina and wizards. Crystal, the hamster ate wine-soaked round bread left by the knights. Don't go into the frost giant's dimension. We won't survive the chaos. Give up the chase. Oslo went in. I have a bet with the frost giants, said half-monster slayer, magician Sleipnir, but not like in Witcher. Let's see how much this bastard can take. JYMR streams in pain as the black-yellow lightning courses through his blood and overcharged outside. After giant breaths, he swings his ball and chain, barely missing Oslo and Ice Club with a sharp giant shaving razor. The club thundered a dual tectonic rift. Do you know the way of the voice?
Another back.
Do you know the way of the voice? Said Oscar the Huskell cunningly. Bet you knew I did. There is ancient wisdom of battle cry audacious on the other Arctic side. Shouts and fireblood were our people's common attributes before. You might find some dungeons only supposed to reward you with voice knowledge. About half of them I would guess, he said comically. The Axe-Maided said. As a historian it might interest you about our conquest and battle history. We have been trying to claim lands in Einhenja for centuries, but have never had something stick for long. Always winning and losing territory like cards. In and around Europe we are just too good. They can't figure out our barbarian fighting styles and sieges. We have never lost against Germany, Poland and few times around Schweiz. Our raids are legendary, but of course we make and trade resources too. Trading is going well in Italy. We're not going to raid there. They might think of us savage. We the eternal barbarians are almost as good conquering as the Irish barbarians. Our voice battle cries and berserker magical attacks have not been defended against Uno's crushed defense.
Unless...
I hope you will learn some. The women make great poetry and songs, not that they do less in modern warfare. Barbarian women are not born much weaker physically than men, about 10% less upper body muscle but 10% stronger legs. I'm digging it, Miss Axe. I'm sure you would be impressive. In the same tone she said, we have fought elves but obviously they're a stronger opponent. Our brains work the hardest when we have to figure out how to beat someone practically. Geniuses of warfare or fighting. Better ally with the elves you can in today's world. My opinion, show me your gritty leg muscles. They pulled up and compared legs. James was bigger with 50% with more striations, but she looked like a freak disciple of Tom Platz. I bet that's how she trains too. Legs like trees. Flexing in front of people only looks good when you're above a certain size, but skinny builds can also make some parts look bigger. You're getting the symmetry right. Looks like you are an intensity trainer. It's hard to imagine getting less from training harder. As long as you're not going fast the way down, the gravity makes you do the work. She came to this theoretical insight, and she would now insightfully attain in the future. Actually, most muscle, 55%, is gained resisting weight. Do you think I need to shock and confuse the muscle? I think you get stronger from adapting to new exercises. Better to focus on adapting to more volume, more repetitions sometime, more weight you can vary, rest, etc. Me too, she said happily. It feels like it's only the first time of some new adaptation anything grows. James decided to twist the key mechanism and travel to a plane unexplored. His spirit felt stretched, his instincts warned of danger all the time. He needed to tread carefully. He exited upon stepping stones in a watery cave. Above were ancient faces of giants carved into rock. They hummed like machines and rotated around a violet light. He entered an elevated slab carved with ancient Scandinavian runes. His weight made sure stone stairs rough presented into the wall. Outside the cave it was like a mirrored Arctic, but he saw 2-meter penguins with craned, distorted necks. They seemed menacing and hungry with their mouths open. An otherworldly moth butterfly of many decimeters came flying by on a cliff's edge, followed by a frost dragon. White scales, blue insides of mouth and eyes, it focused on its prey. Breathing frost and acid instead of fire, the poor moth hit the ground and shattered into two. It seemed unconcerned at the bigger bodybuilder prey. James laid on his stomach and used fire magic like an engine. From his feet shot fire and he skimmed across the snow, a machine penguin or motorboat across the water. Maybe he should have gotten a sleigh. After 40 minutes he came across a small village hid and protected by mountains. He shot through the snow and entered 2 guards erecting in the fray like he had been using tricks on a skateboard. They had several layers of brown fur and round shields. They looked like cold yaks, 2 pole arms in different directions. Barbarians EEH. Prove you're not dangerous, and quickly, pay us thus. Whatever I have, gold plenty. This is a theoretical outpost, spiritual and guarding ancient wisdom. You look like you're from fiery hell pits, leading armies of molten hell, generally or as a general. I'm African and British. I'm from somewhere aristocratic in the Mali region 1,000 years back when it was a cosmopolitan university city. You know Betos and Farambar. Hail coffee Arabica. You talk like a scholar, this is the wilderness through. Historian, I write history with my fists, poetry and timeless. You said ancient wisdom. Is it a dungeon of the voice? You're interested in battle cry. Obviously the dungeon is dangerous, said the other guard with his steel polearm gleaming, reflecting the bright light. Good luck, adventurer, that wisdom is for all of us. I heard it's not the most dangerous dungeon through with the rewards related to the weather. Don't be stupid, Leaf, it's only less a dungeon compared to a dragon. They argued comically as James ignored them and entered a wooden village savage, frozen and -70 colder than the Arctic. It was like a fort with the dungeon protected. He didn't feel like talking to many. He saw giant bunnies in their snowcoats except one brown and one black. 2.5 meters tall and 5 meters long. One of them came curious and with acute nosing observed and imprinted. Then it jumped straight up into the air 3 meters like a flea. Boing, another rabbit further back mimicked the behavior. The brown had predator teeth and energetically zoomed with pent-up energy. These are Swartzborn rabbits, more docile, tolerant and intelligent than regular rabbits. A red-haired captain-looking woman with commanding presence and social-like cookies and cream-focused demeanor. You should see our prized Angora Swartzborn. From behind frozen logs came an ultra-hairy white cuteness with a fatty mane. They grow so much hair they don't mind us cutting it at all, just a big sheep in it. She seemed comfortable talking for both of them. I have a giant rabbit too, actually. Really, she said and meant it. It's more dog-sized through, Sigmund the Destroyer. Destroyer of crops and peppers, she said in the same wavelength. Vanquisher of enemies, great mewing streak. I'll let you be able to buy an Angora chest pelt, a cloth piece that will keep you warm in ice hell and main freezing hall. 800 quid. They're pretty great, I shall honor them with a pelt. They went into a lonesome hut which seemed like an out-of-stock market. The pelt was fluffy, grand, thick and glorious, he looked like royalty putting it on. It was shaped like a V, wide on the shoulders thus, slender. Onto the dungeon. Buy some health and mana pies, will you? Rhubarb raspberry, it will tell you the journey is long. James had been meditating and feeding off the life force of plants and animals, keeping him alive like the poor. I'll buy some fruits as well, I'm as vegetarian as the rabbits these days. We have smoked paprika ribs 3 kilos 75% off. All right, whatever. As he entered a grand barbarian stone hall high in roof, it lead to the door which lead to the dungeon. The stone hall was culture, tall and a warning. The regular-sized door lead into a smaller slope down. The ice around was beautiful, breathtaking see-through teal and magnificent as sapphires. White and teal, they shifted as James slid down 30 meters claustrophobic. Polar bears. But it was larger and had a longer craned neck with dog ears and rund forehead. Hungry was the polar beast, but hungrier with E. James went for the ultimate hunger slap. Like hit by a giant bear, the polar beast spinned 5 times in the air before landing, knocked out like by Mike Tyson. Blood gushed like blood magic and returned to James. He felt he would last, this indeed extended his life, feeling like repair of the brain and DNA. After following through the corridor, it opened into a cave system, into many roots, and was inhabited by dinosaur-like birds, 4 eyes grey and gargoyle-like. He used his automatic robotic guns to defeat the dinosaur, overpowered. They only came so close, feathers flying and pulverized. He entered the left route and eventually came into a throne room. There was a crowned skeleton with a staff sitting on top. Behind in elevation was a puzzle of which tiles to step on. He did not recognize the symbols. James felt stupid trying to solve the puzzle. He stepped as far as he could to cross, but one of the tiles glue, vibrated and disappeared into the depths. I guess some tiles would not fall. The skeleton awakened. He speechlessly with the force of the dead pelted James with ice bolts, ice blasts and ice spheres. James dodged a blizzard pelting him from the top and fired high-velocity rounds. Outsmart my bullet. They strafed in a circle, he shooting and the dead ice blasting until after a long time the dead went down. He was out of bullets. Well, it was fun while it lasted. His plasma cannon he could crank with its battery through. He picked up the staff but couldn't figure out how to use it, probably worth a bit. He came into an ice church. The dead sat praying. Some moved when James strode. It was grand and high in roof, gleaming still and beautiful, completely made of ice. He got lost going through new rooms, elevations and corridors, but once you try every possible route you remember into the final room. There were 2 really chunky bodybuilder-looking ice elementals immediately alert of his presence, and came intimidatingly. James waited for them to line up and shot his railgun. They had holes like smelly cheese but got up and advanced. A laser cannon stopped their walk and they struggled no more. The railgun was cranked and broken, not designed to last 100 years, and then 1,000 years into the past, overheating a final time. Behind them was a chest of black ice and temple. The temple looked barbarian. There were 2 statues of ancient barbs and tales of gods and adventures in the stone. He had a spiritual experience. His spirit was lifted, light engulfed him and lightened his heart. He felt one with everything as barbarian voices beckoned. Aliens came and shot with their lasers, adventures that could take any for research. We learned their technique and shot him down. The last alien of their kind died here, eager for forgiveness and rhubarb pie. The mouth of the 2 statues powered up in spheres. James felt upgraded as his mouth absorbed the laser, arms out. He felt like he had a battery or could breathe laser. Shoot lightning like a robot sentinel, protect us all. James tried shooting laser. His eyes glowed blue and sphere charged in his mouth. Like looking into Anubis' gaze from the front, he rail-gunned from his mouth and explosively into the wall. He felt a cooldown charging and it was long. The chest held ingots of Fateweave shooting Maystar, a magical jade snake ready to pounce and a large mana vial. He exited through another slope. He came onto a cliffside with a camp and a barbarian. I am Yak Chai, the Wolfliller. I battle all the remnants of the ancient cake and take their stuff. I am the smartest INTJ personality type. Oh, you're smart then, piercingly forever thus. No, I am as dumb as 7 idiots plus a parrot. Duel me or you don't deserve your stuff. James unleashed his pole arm like...
I can make that funnier. And better. Better. that necessity will need to show your stuff.
James unleashed his pole arm like a samurai unsheathing. Yak Chai didn't block it. He came ferocious with his axes. Let me ask you a question. But after James repositioned maximum range, there was no getting through. James got many stabs in, then knocked him unconscious with his flat pole arm side. It sounded like a gong and vibrated a long time. His camp had stew and hut and fire, but not much else. James shot down the slopes fiery back to the frozen village. The village was right under the northern lights, although the way back was confusing enough. He inspected the rest of the village and came onto a general store. For 1,000 quid the owner would mark the nearby dungeons and territory as knowledge of a raven flying overhead into his brain. I'll tell you something people do on Ahenja. They have a breed of hamsters that is so pure they explode or thunderclap. You got these green, black and red. Red is the most explosive. It's like a house removal or for a really bad zit. They're pretty cute, great plumage. They explode if you touch them, so people figured out you throw them. I'll take 3 red. I don't know how they exchanged coin and the hamsters. One rare item a traveler presented was Thor's own wife's coffee grinder. No matter how little coffee beans you put in and grind it, there would always be lots of coffee left. Thor, you know, has 3 boars that replenish the next day after you slaughter them. Eternal glory. The weather turned pretty harsh actually on a dime. James could not see nor move nor think, consumed by the blizzard. The extremes were something to get used to here. It felt as normal as Saturn. He kept heating himself from the inside. His absolute unit had turned really quite red, but with his new Angora pelt he could reach sufficient temperatures. James put in maximum thrust from his fire feet and he blazed like a machine unto the amnesia on the ruins, Erdur. The slopes into the ruins were without stairs, so he rounded them up. Bandits waited for him. These ruins take a toll on you, said a rogue in a face mask. James shot up into a fiery sky and slammed the ground molten. The impact deafened and fire pushed the bandits all away in different directions, eventually off the mountain. Except for one. Lucky, both my bracelets protect against fire. Brown hood, red face mask, 2 machetes. James engulfed her with fire, and as she was busy James charged his voice into a railgun. If you give me your stuff I'll let you live, idiot. You can't defeat me with magic. I am the anti-mage Crimson. James' mouth stood agape like he could not chew. The railgun went through her chest. She was drained of her confidence and life as a half-diameter hole absorbed the snow on the ground with thick blood. Looks like she robbed some people. James weighed her purse and found 2 small diamond rings. There seems to be potions of sharpness and clarity, but they don't help on university tests. James was already getting delusions of someone with his face to chest slit following him half dead. But just for a moment. He figured the reward must be great and he found the door inside the ruins. His sanity flickered as he passed through a barrier through the door. A trap barrier. The first room was easy navigation on tiles, remembering left and right and remembering which arrows were true. It must be difficult on the way back. In the second room he had an attack. It was as if someone had stabbed him and pushed him down. His vision was dark and weak and he had insane thoughts, psychotic. After downing the vial of clarity he felt normal and as if a dark presence was uninterested in him again. In room 2 there were 3 black elves. They said, "You can sacrifice some strength and wisdom here to make it easier later. You can sacrifice some magical ability and mana here to make it easier later. You can sacrifice some defense and reflexes here to make it easier later. Are you ready to hurt yourself?" "No, I want my suffering raw, thanks." The third elf looked at his royal pelt. "Here's a heads-up blackness. If you lose your mind, the dead with slit chests, faces will become real and attack you. They exist as long as you have seen them and mirror your endurance. Why don't you just tell me an easy way through this and I'll pay you with diamonds?" "Show diamonds." James curdled diamonds like dice. "For diamond sacrifice, I shall show you the back elf doors." They went above and under horrible rooms, held to the sides of walls high into black doors that went like an abstract maze painting. "Down here, just 2 fights and you shall have cleared the dungeon." James jumped into the door and on down into a corridor. Behind him were 3 corridors that asked, "Which is real?" He slid down a slope into an icy metal room with a sphinx. "Nice cattail there, lady. I am the plague angel Pestilence. I may decimate your world if you ask. I must pass. As a sphinx you know there is only one answer correct to my question or I will punish you. I can mirror strength or make you fight yourself. Don't take the fighting route," she said in the stupid voice of those taking it. "If you stride twice as fast as quick diagonally, but were supposed to go east, how much time did you save as you merge your path?" "Oh gosh, it's an intelligence question, thank God I have a brain. If it's twice as fast, the grounds gained, the time saved must be half of the completely correct trajectory at 45 degrees. Counting tiles. If 3 times as fast, it will merge the same. You're skipping a lot. Are you sure this is the right answer? The pestilent really looked like a promise of destruction, green on stone wings, 10 stone thick hairs back and eyes empty, white and scarred. I am confident. It is correct. Consider sparing us as I ask the opposite of what the next will. I will consider. You're right proper as we say in England, and you have to be. The Sphinx changed into a dark voice of honesty dropped like a first layer of tolerance. The tempest will come so try as you may. James was sucked aggressively into the next slide and came ass first onto his knees. For Alec died. A red-balled orc with steel teeth, chiseled exterior and huge armor came aggressively charging. Before James could think, he was grappled around the waist and savaged into the wall. James smacked him so hard with his long forearm he was stunned, and James grabbed him around the waist, did a rocket boost with his 5 feet into a 180-degree arch, landing on the orc's head. Revenge. The orc hewed an axe into hither direction, but James backed away, then double-kicked him in the face in a spinning jump. Before the orc could stabilize, he drop-kicked him in the chest for Thunder God Brega. The room was different elevations of steel and ice, making for a good chasing hit and tag room, James thought after seeing it professionally. The orc Steelface Original the 7th came charging with a spear. James put his sideways foot above it into the ground and kicked him with Stylo's arcane shockwaves. It broke his steel teeth. James started pelting Steelface with throwing weapons to the grievously whirlwind. Get that barbarian garbage out of here. He imbibed a Colossus strength potion, making sure he would win any exchange. Right, longer fight. Fine. James pulled his katana, elongating it with red-black lightning. First he sliced off his hand, then spun and sliced off his forearm. Katrina Johansson Hurricane. AARRG, he squirted blood into James' eyes, then made a strike James was happy to have dodged and clapped, making a circle shockwave. James sidestepped. James sliced him twice in the stomach with his range, and then with speed technique sliced through his axe and upper body, leaving 2 Steelface. You expect me to die? I expect you to talk annoyingly. This knowledge from the ancient barbs won't be what you expect. From the barbarian temple back again emanated voices and colors. You shall see the world with the wisdom of 10,000 lives. An old white double-chinned barbarian, ancient old, spoke through his face wrinkles yet bodybuilder chest. You shall travel on the path of the wise. Ancient will be your speech, spiritual your life. You shall not miss an event or make mistakes that need much correction. Evolve and turn into peaceful, pure, pristine energy. You have been given the most important help of all, and when energy, you will also be allowed a new luxury purpose if not learned enough. James interpreted spiritual action outside easily, loudly, as if there were giant bunnies. As James exited the room, he came onto a giant slope. It was wide and with unfathomable depth below. He slid like with fire magic and steered with his metallic weapons. The slopes went in circles down and into corridors of the wall. Shorter, more dangerous directions were presented. James realized late that he needed speed to cross the last segment, to fly to the exit. He slid as a penguin explosive and flailed around in the air. 30 meters. Barely he reached the end, nailing the katana into the ice cliff with the exit. Outside there were indeed giant bunnies. I empower you, rabbits, use your hoppity legs thus. A band of giant rabbits had been fighting crane-necked polar bears. A bear jumped, clawing a poor fluffy bunny. The bunny jumped too and kicked the bear in the chest, with impact magic and a bang, thus the bear flew far. Bunnies sometimes jump kick even in real life. The bunnies came onto James, licking, smelling and inspecting. 10 bunnies were carrying a sleigh with a man and a ton of stuff. A covered traveler came and shook his hand. They only take for those attuned to nature. I'm Benny, merchant and attorney. They only drink the finest brandy or maybe some higher alcohol wizard's misspelling, if really thirsty. The cloak revealed a blue body with shining light blue eyes, shining of a lighter color hieroglyphs on his forehead. I come from the ruins. This dungeon gave me the most important thing I didn't know I needed. I feel wise like a guided spirit. I see them eat hamburgers sometimes also, but not other meats. Strange credulity. I feel like I can relate to being a giant bunny somehow. You can ride the sleigh or a bunny formidable. I'm going to Solga Docks. You know, the biggest city to the Arctic Sea of the Einhenger North Pole. James mounted a bunny and held into its sleigh leather contraption. The bunnies went off like a rocket. WOOHOOO, this is awesome. Later entering Solga Docks. I got to get myself a ride like this. Look inside the docks in it, said the nice merchant. Looks like the ice melted here, into sea. The city was snowy and frozen, many red and green wooden buildings and massive icy rebreaker ships of almost every color. Parts of the city were only accessible by boat, some water streets were small, some large, some islands. He could see the mount shop from the icy gates. Indeed, they had giant bunnies and compact mammoths, giant curve-horned yaks and white gorilla steroid yetis pulling with giant steps. A bunny-eared elf with a lisp offered a spell that lets you talk to animals somewhat well but drained your mana a lot, and a blizzard's bite spell that cooled down bunnies in warmer climates. But they're cool about the winter. No, everyone freezes here. Every animal in snowstorms realizes eventually that this place is just awful and pointless, so they seek out warmer climates. Especially the yaks. James bought the lot, bunny food, Angus hamburgers and one bunny, thus went to choose one outside. Who wants to travel around the world, he said. Some bunnies jumped close. Is it safe? That isn't safe, they said. As he touched a white bunny with a bit of a mane of fat-looking royal, it jumped 3 meters into the air. Pick me, I don't mind traveling and it never goes as planned anyway. Let's be friends, said James and gave some giant peppers, blackcurrant pie and cowberry redcurrant pie. Goodbye, gang, said the bunny. Due to the spell, the voice was heard inside his head. He felt an urgency in the voice, a bunny urgency to be alert and safe. Like stress to be afraid. It is really a fear like the darkest void. Bunnies can get a heart attack from being scared, and now James would ever be afraid of this himself, stressing about it. He guided the bunny in leather straps. Did you know I'm a very smart human? Super smart, top 0.1%, James said randomly. Wow, said the bunny, I am very hungry. I want one more pepper. James agreed reasonably and pat his head. I had actually a rabbit before we got separated by a spell. A tiny cousin rabbit, white like myself. Dog-sized rabbit, brown and tolerant, interested in the new and other animals. I don't mind many things, being so...
It's just the color of some rabbits. I don't really think about any racial thought with the rabbits.
I don't mind many things, being so strong...
Oh, and James turns himself into a rabbit as well, so that's black.
I don't mind many things, being so strong and big. With me you can feel safe. The best thing I know is to feel safe and not have to think about being eaten and blood. The bunny James thought was complicated, vulnerable yet valuable, and something of an attorney personality. I wish I could fly, said the bunny, like a bunny and unrealistic. You can fly in your dreams, means your spirit is lifted. Where I come from we have a saying, multiply like rabbits. I am not very good at math. 9 plus 10 equals 21. What do you think of these tomatoes? Should I buy these? The bunny ate the tomatoes. He was red like blood around his face. Service fee, maybe I'm a killer rabbit. Maybe you shoot lasers, said James. He hopped around on the rabbit and visited the library of Solga. It was grand, of several stories and winding staircases. Gold and silver staircases, the railings. It was like a capital library. Students sat mesmerized, and he enjoyed the last Shakespeare book he hadn't read, an Italian drama. He remarked history and philosophy, culture of their sea trade and University of Magic. He read some philosophy in a book about not acting and not taking part to not suffer, but thought it was about not living. Avoiding suffering through philosophical isn't always the ultimate goal or practical, but James would be stimulated in the future figuring out how to stop it. You can always stop suffering by changing your perspective, said James to the giant bunny face, solid and speechless like a rock, mind over matter. Even the worst things you can give a purpose. You can also be conscious about suffering until it ends. They rode on to the university. It was dark blue and looked like made of ice. It was built in many 6-pointed ice crystals. I invented the 6-point goat, argued one wizard. What have you unleashed? Argued the other. What's a 6-point goat? Said James. This mangy wizard here invented a goat with an explosive ramming. It will destroy the entire block. I agree with the mangy wizard. He invented it. Your goats have no lasting impact if they destroy everything thus and double thus. I can make more goats, but it's making me bald. Your excessive use of goat in your magic is making you bald. You said my bald head looked good. That's why I started oiling it with bowling grease. Yeah, your head shines like a shooting star, said James. He's balding because he gets no maidens, said the wizard with luxurious hair. If you're balding, you should get a fashionable hat and beard, said James. There cannot be a goat without explosions. Don't you see? He didn't make any sense. James saw someone like they were driving an invisible car 2 meters up, but ass pointed out and backwards driving. He pulled the handbrake and drove away. Was that vehicle invisible? No, you drive ass first with butt magic. I find it unbelievable. You butt deniers want us all prosecuted, the wizard said in the same wavelength. Look, I have perfect buttocks. The wizards calmed down, looked and agreed with irrefutable logical fiber. Inside an impossibly large castle on the sea, mostly he asked for what magic? There is conjuration, butt magic, water, air, earth, fire, summon alive, summon undead, impact, blood, healing. It's all boring reading, mana increasing rituals and lessons. Said an old monotone bored ugly clerk with a wide luxury desk. Butt magic, do you teach one of the unholy strikes here? No one has applied or succeeded in that butt magic for 200 years. No one should be that powerful in my opinion. I can fart my rabbit out of the room if I eat whey protein powder. Potential, that is, but I wasn't finished. We also have holy and questionably unholy in defense against unholy magic. Practical magic for productivity, easy magic that makes you feel smart, turning yourself into something magic TYS, turning something into something else magic TSSE, tier 13 ridiculously, ludicrous difficult magic. Magical crafting and fletching, magical potions, elven crystal singing, interdimensional magic, elven magic from Solga, alchemy, best magic for a contemporary jobs, the dark magic solar allows, magic to break someone's concentration, Sears foggy advancement, transmog, magical history. Magical produce farming gardening, intersectional spirituality magic, battle cry, shout and voice magic, professional explosive magic and just blowing things up magic. Magic in writing, poetry and music, very difficult that. Getting stabbed in the knee 2 times and someone steals your shoe magic. Shape-shifting magic, magical curses, transmutation magic, double unicorn magic and magical bullshit and defense. Air, fire, earth and water magic together is 20% off as usual, 2,640 quid. Elven potions and crystals singing 30% together, explosive and double unicorn magic 30% off, other lessons 850 quid each, 12 lessons usually. I summon magically deep pockets. Maybe you're thinking about alchemy. You know they never make more money making gold than they put in. The real gold lies in transmutation magic. This is where you get dollar, I guess. You invest in yourself and your skills. Talk is cheap that it cannot afford university lessons, the clerk said, bored and monotone. James pulled out a 100.000 shimmering ingot. Keep it as a deposit until I'm done. I don't want to think about money. I didn't invent the world, pal, or Ahenger, the clerk said like a smoker. When you put a price on knowledge, people learn economics, James said with 145 IQ. Let's start with fire magic, James mostly exclaimed to himself. Remember, Ahenger is a lawless land. There is no police, fire department or jail. You will have to fight for your things. Just like the capitalists want it, every service and tax is unnecessary. It's not so bad when we have guys like the coolie-leaning guy over there. He executes and hunts top criminals, the vision of horror, prophet of despair. James walked and was ready to talk the talk. Hey, how are you doing, Sonny? You look like an angel mixed with a street fighter. His crown of despair hovered over his head like halo, hummed like a vacuum cleaner. Things are going well for me, he said unexpectedly. The drug lords aren't being replaced and the gangs are breaking. Pulverized skull is fleeting into the wind. I like hunting criminals too, maybe I am a mercenary for hire. Let's consider fighting together, unholy man. If you didn't look like this I would have stabbed you with a mongrel's Mongolian paternal leave more. I know of the unholy strike. They teach one here. Can you learn it? Honestly, I will try my best. This technique is auxiliary. I don't judge a man by his farts. He was shredded topless with a grey angel-looking haircut and array of weapons. Light grey skin, burning grey wings, red eyes. 2 big grey wrapper-like pants. In fire magic, arrogantly advanced firefly course, they stood in front of a short, fat, big-headed grin with a large, remarkable nose. He was short-tempered and stupid about lots many modern chivalrous things, but surprisingly cunning. Smart to work less, Ulrich had the perfect grin of business. The perfect fireball should be deadly in explosion, area and fire over time. Practice with me until it changes color. Eat these capsaicin pills. If you snort them they can get rid of migraines. True. A cheeky squirrel-looking lady, well human look first, but still remarkably squirrel, already made a blue-purple fireball, as hot as it gets 30,000 Kelvin plus. Most were red to yellow 3,000, 6,000 K. James tried and tried getting his fireballs white 10,000 K. If he didn't do it now he would before fire lessons were over. Write more here.
Write more here. I will do it. I keep this here now because when you're looking at this, I'm not running.
You need to be like the blackest, most smoldering lava lake, Squirrel said. James was conjuring hotter fireballs, maybe he thought. Good job, student, said Ulrich from beneath, hot like a pie oven. James felt full of power, compliments and spirit overtaken in almost not his control. He glued genius orange body and eyes and unleashed lightning white red strange and thick. The dummy melted and happily returned. Wow, this is quark gluon plasma, 150,000 Kelvin. Another form of fire class, I must tell the principal. Turns out James could channel fire and power like a particle accelerator experiment. Now to figure out how to do it again. Chaos and random was at the tip of his fingers. James met a superhero for the first time, Pigeon Man. I was born to fight crime in this lawless land, tooth and claw. You have superpowers, James said fair. I have wings, I can fly. He flapped his wings. Yeah, you really look like a pigeon. I also make beer. He put his foot on a bag of barley. Drink pigeon. Chapter 4 Beget, Begot, Beget. In the stabbing magic class, James followed the 5 piercing truths and from a magical half-breed British elf mercenary. He did more than shank, he believed in the book of stabbing. Stabbing into someone's liver is something to consider because crash asterisk the window broke. A French assassin stood bent upon the window's lit. He was smoking unfiltered primitive cigarettes, wore a black suit and his face looked very rugged and attractive to women with thick brown curly hair. Which one is James? Could be me, said a fat kid with a dragon t-shirt. No, it's me, said James. I'm sorry someone sent me to kill you. I'm thinking about the money already, he said too honestly in a thick French accent. He pulled a baguette out of his belt and whacked it menacingly. Firm hand, strong baguette. Take it outside, James, don't kill my new cactus, said the teacher Heineken strong lager. James jumped into him and out the window 2 stories below and landed on the Frenchman. You're lucky you landed on me, he said like he was talking to someone stupid. They spun and wrestled with his daggers until the Frenchman threw him upright. Bombs Humphrey non-baguette. The assassin threw pano chocolate that exploded, removing James' eyebrows. It smelled like berries and jasmine. James only had a throwing hammer rebound with him. They screamed and went clashing epically. What would he do with a baguette despite being delicious? They collided, Warhammer and baguette clad in absolute unit, so the baguette was hard as any steel, acting like a cudgel of winding steel drive. The assassin with the same position struck him, moving through gliding with arrogant power. In 1 second James was flying, thus surprisingly like he was outschooled. But we'll see, it's just the start of the fight, writer's edit. James turned and shot his plasma cannon, but the assassin was fast enough for his neck. He puffed smoke behind him, thus. I need to stop smoking. It's making me nauseous and sick, thin and weak like a French sardine in coffee mixer. Your hair is on fire. The Frenchman applied more Dapadan gel to his hair, creating a smoky smell and putting out the fire. Your baguette has reached its length. And it will be bad for you, baguette length termination. He made a devastating explosive punch that spawned 100 baguettes like a fountain in the punch direction. And Baguette Glacier Arnaud summoned a 10 by 10 meter baguette that knocked him away. His baguette elongated into a 2 meter long rye baton. Tomato barbecue baguette is a lie. He twacked in an assault, one end at a time, gracious and spinning quite aggressively and Frenchy. Tomato barbecue baguette is supposed to be a one-time new experience, that's why it's so salty. James deflected with truth, strafing back, sacrificing position for defense. Heavy baguette. Baguette fire. Imaginary baguette. Hair à la royale truffle baguette. Sparkling baguette. Shadow baguette. Quarter baguette. Fut baguette. Brittle breakneck baguette. Dire baguette. Betting your life baguette. Constipated goat baguette. Death empress baguette. Killer disco midget baguette. Unholy goat cheese baguette. Breakfast steak baguette. Low fitness baguette. Insane horse baguette. Stupendous baguette. Winter baguette. Unhinged berserk baguette. Roundhouse clean sweep baguette. Merciless gorilla hot sauce baguette. Drunk diplomat baguette. Baron drunk baron baguette. Ultra baguette. Golden idiot baguette. Baguette superstimulus. Landmine baguette. Half infinite baguette. Tectonic supreme baguette. Jade horse baguette. Scapade à la pied. Ouchie finger baguette. Vengeful lacerator baguette. King always me baguette.
Alright, Mr. Typing baguette down.
King always me baguette.
One time.
Babylon baguette. Compound baguette. Decapitate defenestrate baguette. Screaming giant goat baguette. Mind baguette gaslight. Harking baguette. Faint flaunt baguette. Clown, baguette core. High glycemic index baguette. Toagem and Earl baguette. Square buttocks baguette. Baguette tendrils. Wish upon a baguette. Beyond insanity baguette. Feet tackled by deer baguette. Horizons baguette. Laughing bald cyclops baguette. Roaring baguette. Stark stirring mad baguette. Suggestive ruminating baguette. Roaring baguettua. Sublime capybara baguette. Jerkball hairstyle fried chicken baguette. Interloper's banana skid baguette. Elderly orangutan weight gain baguette. Unyielding arse flute baguette. Illusory baguette. Railgun baguette. Upsetting baguette. Nether baguette. Squawk square parrot baguette. Ardent baguette wave. World horsebreath baguette. James was completely busy defending the assault. Usually attacks bounced off him like he had a power belly. Paris baguette. The Frenchman power twacked, echoing, knocking James back 8 meters like hit by a thundermaul. James was wondering, what was he doing on his back, having dug up the ground? James threw a circular hammer, but he blocked with a raspberry tart. Arnaud threw a fast to rise baguette, but James caught it. Mockingly he ripped a bit and put into his mouth. C4 baguette. James' face exploded. James wasn't pleased, and when he got his hammer again, he threw it like a Sioux, mal-hungry into his chest. The Frenchman landed on his buttocks and his cigarette flew. You don't need that. I should not smoke at work, he said, generously accented. French steroid and Olympic dominator.
Now, since copy-pasting a site about baguettes or anything, I can have everything myself.
French steroid and Olympic dominator, La Oule. His arms glue, got bigger and light red with bloodfire. He came expecting James to face it.
I deflect with truth.
Arrogant power, beast bloodfire. Hunger slap, ravenous baguette. I mean hunger. James slapped him like a bear and outranged him. It beat his attack, knocking him 3 meters left at a sharp angle like getting hit by a London double-decker. James uprooted the only tree nearby and swung against his double baguette. It was an even match. Blows were parried skillfully, minding footwork and by-the-book baguette defense. The Frenchman had rhythm and danced the dance of baguettes. Die, Mr. Norwegian or whatever, silly man, don't make me blow this place away. And I want your robot arm that looks really cool. I object completely to this assassination, and thus, there must be a way a court can stop this. You could file a police report. No, they didn't exist here. Look, if you give me some cash, I can tell them you were hit off a cliff and probably died. It's a hard world for a man with stuff. Let me have a whiff of that cigarette you're lighting. James planted the tree and they sat down exchanging dwarf coins. 450 quid. Okay, you are definitely off the cliff. Who sent you? He was hooded but had this ridiculous stuffy Spanish accent. You know, I only do this to have work and also the money. I like to imagine people don't mind getting killed in business. You know, like, I'm not bloodthirsty or anything. I don't kill women unless they're big fighters. What do you think about safer jobs here, mate? I think I manage myself fine in Ahenja. Only one guy I ran from. He was a huge red orc man. I told them I killed him. They never checked I got paid AA. Then he ransacked their village. No witnesses. He raised his hand for a high five. Smack. Free money, James said. I could do with more friends. I have a giant bunny and I drink anything you throw at me. James. Sure, whatever. You can hit me up, homeboy, as I finish up magical curses. Fuck. Do you fight with something else than baguettes? Yes, I also have these breadsticks. People can't get enough. What, are you serious? Do you go to the school here? Yes, they call me Arnaud. Thus, he shaked his hand, pronouncing his name with a cigarette in his mouth. Arnaud talked James into magical curses where they had weakness, weaken, suffer, which was a form of weaken, and weaken weapons. Yes, you can still do curses and be a decent person, said a balding white-haired sorcerer in red-purple robes with adventurous eyes. It is a means to an end. In the first book we have amplify damage, reduce resistance to magic, reduce resistance to elements, and quicken bleeding, which also makes them use more energy. We shall also practice making their swords burn, sluggish snail arms with cursed feet, and Seer's mind grab. We're just going to do the mind entering part, which is illusory, weakening, and confusing. James was proficient at Seer's mind grab just as he was spiritual. Reducing resist would make him overcome immune enemies, so he practiced keenly. I have a contract, James. Someone at the school, tall ass-cheek Albert, gave me his money just to maim and take this guy's stuff, man. Goad Sheffy Earlobe. He's poor, weak, and without defense. What do you say to taking Albert's stuff then? I will give this boy Mr. Earlobe something as well. Ass-cheek Hall Enteth. Hey Arnaud, did you take his stuff? It's a free country. Arnaud went up and smacked him silly 5 times with his locker and kicked him in the nuts professionally, into the ceiling. Tall ass-cheek Albert said, You're not serious, a bleeding heart-conscious assassin. We spell it assassin in French. I am passionate. Albert pulled out a scroll that Arnaud cleft and hit him grievously with a baguette. Your baguette is weak, said James, menacing. In the end they took his stuff and buried him, legs sticking up hairy, in the garden. He has magical shrines and collected scrolls. One-timers is something getting used to. They gave the cash to Goad Sheffy Earlobe. Goad Sheffy barhead like a goat, thus unintelligible. Arnaud visited his mercenary friend Von Vague and wife Von Valorant. In the hospital he had fought his last contract. He had taken a troll twice his size, Alpha, and wasn't even stupid. Wow, lady, Yepsadoodle, remember when I asked if you had a sister? They think nothing will wake him up now, sniff. Nothing. Arnaud went to his bed. Come on bro, you gotta lock in. You said this wasn't going to be the last as long as the locating baguette to Buxrich isn't found. Lock in. As Arnaud said lock in and shook his shoulders, Vague rose quickly and military. He looked ready for orders and breathed brutally through his nostrils. If you passed away, my life would be lifeless and grey. He went on to live another 47 years. Quote, James took the weekend to get back to Arkspire and found Toadsburg being very uncomfortable with all the animals and people. I will finish my training. You can have a lesson in the jewel rooms right now. Enteth jewel room. Elemental adapting absolute unit or elemental spirit is a way to adapt to your elements. It's earth magic. I will cut you and insert an evergrowth seedling in your stomach. James got over the cut as quickly as his lunch. Focus on your resilience, eternal like the stars, cosmic, and grow into a sentinel. James and Toadsburg grew into an exoskeleton that looked like mahogany wood, like a smooth tree ant. His face was rund, gleaming, chest and shoulders sleek and fashionable. Faceless, expert and alien he was. Eternal seed of growing and growing through you are. Very resilient against ice, water, cold, earth, heat and air. Also, this tree doesn't catch on fire. You will find you need less energy, water and oxygen like this. Practice with me. Once you get really good you can turn into a fire, water or air elemental shortly, completely, and absorb the element. Live longer as long as you are an elemental. Without complaining, they soundlessly practiced until after 2 days he was going to go back to university. He saw someone getting backstabbed by a baguette and somehow steal multiple wallets at the same time. Let's eat some of this dwarven earthy food. Ah no. It's on me, this dwarf is rich and behind on payments. Dwarven fine restaurants had exclusive bread and butters that were very comfortable eating and easy to eat continuously, carrot and a vegetable that only grew here, dwarven artichoke, into soup. Wine testing and wine pairing followed. James thought the wines were unimpressive for the cost, but fit the food well. Small birds and mashed potatoes main course, then it was crackers and cheese. This was something exceptional that they were sad it would eventually stop, so they agreed with the luxurious servitor, who had the most luxurious silver rings and bracelets in his dwarf beard. They bought another round of just crackers and cheese. That is a delicious yogurty blue cheese. Inspired by my boss's salary, said the dwarf. Rye is disgusting unless it has a cheese wedge on it. Ah no. Back at university James was learning alchemy. Something that interested him was to make bombs. First idea, super poisonous or flammable gas bombs that cover all enemies, then he would protect himself in absolute unit and detonate. Stun bombs. He didn't alter his enemies' senses often, he thought strategically. After grinding and reading he figured out a custom way to make impact grenades, knocking people off like trampolines. He called them blueberries. The book recommended making adamant silver bombs that addled mages' magical abilities, or poisoned dragon glass also works but can be cured with black gull if prepared. It said some asshole always is. Flash adamant bombs to blind. If the dragon can do magic, its intestines or half-giant liver can be used to make bombs that blinds you and instills fear for 10 minutes even if you did not look at it, like an error in your brain. Scarecrow he named this thus. He found half-giant's liver in a butcher shop, magical shop, and went home crafting bombs like a dirty inventor. James' genius went speedy as he built and put too many books and ingredients in cluttered space. Experiment, separate, combine, possibilities and theory. James took a stove and turned into a chemical station. Glass blew a chemistry set he knew from chemistry and some own ideas for sizes. He tasted, tinkered and thought like a processor about mathematics. Sometimes his thinking was indistinguishable from a cyborg hitting the ones and zeros. If it was something you would feel, it would make you feel scared like looking at an alien. Eventually he came across a functional bomb that blinded, instilled fear, chemically burned, that could not be stopped with water, stunned and slowed your movement and reduced your resistance against elements. James realized at the same time slowing with water, ice magic and shooting with his plasma cannon would be a good combo. Being a lone wolf thinker lets you pursue inventing and science freely. Motivated like there were enough people, and you spent enough time. The introverted intensity for introverts is just this, the speed they should work on long experiments. Being 160 IQ makes you pursue inventing much longer than 140 IQ. The sun seemed like a morning ritual familiar as James peeked out of his dormitory sooty. He held a giant hand to his eyes as the sun covered half his vision. There was a deer with heart-shaped antlers together. It chewed on the tundra and wondered what was this human up to during this morning already. James
I want to eat something.
James threw an explosive bomb. The deer flew like a ragdoll. God, I'm such a good hunter. We have heard you have good stuff, Kerr. And Red Orc said deep like a demon. Just a minute ago, we inspected you. Forget fighting orcs, pay the laws of Ahenger. I'm going to give you something to run away from, like a scientist. James. An orc came with polearm ready to dodge. James, like the undead, breathed frost, chilling the orc to an icicle, then shot his head off with the plasma cannon. Run away hither, tactical run away, best criminal for himself. They scattered in 8 directions and would maybe tell their friends this was not an easy target in the future. What would James do when the plasma cannon ran out of battery? Toss his robot arm and return to the medieval yet quite magical times. He needed to make a battery, and he would crank it manually. James swept inside. He needed zinc, copper, lithium. He dismantled things small and large and outfitted his robot arm on the outside. In addition, one large cracking arm like on an old car. Third good idea, He made a lithium overload battery larger than he would crank and try to charge with lightning magic. Enter magical bullshit and defense. Are you vulnerable to your senses pupils? What if I stunned you, swept your memory with my tea and stirred it into an antidote too hot to drink? The teacher Ignatius looked clever and was cunning. He had expertise and thought at least enough to be a step ahead. Long jawlines on a pale face with dirty wet-looking hair to his face cheeks. He dressed close-fitting in mostly black mixed with crystal purple armor. All through it can make you feel thick and uninterested sometimes. There are potions you can drink to increase your stun resistance. 3 months per potion. Build up the resistance. It's got the same half-life as coffee, he said interestingly a bit to himself. This class supplies you with 2 free potions, 1 long-term and 1 for the intense day. One funny side effect is that you tend to shave your hamster insanely. Yes, I know you get free hamsters from Jin's classes. Stuns are strategic of your born mind limitations, just like pulling wool over your eyes. It is common. The school makes some affordable potions. Students learn to make them and students drink them. Profit free for you. There are some really terrible potions after potion classes you can buy cheaply through. You want to write down every mind and senses alter way your opponent can beat you. James mentioned his bombs and everything it beats, kind of like an inventor. I see you have stepped in the same thought. Class, now we are going to practice mind-altering resistance, like probing, illusion and insanity. Test your minds for fun. Some minds are strong, and for surprising reasons. Just because you're smart doesn't mean you're stable. The teacher put on a dangerous smile. Resist the temptation, use your willpower, never break your attention span into the curious and dangerous. He smashed the overly bottom-thick purple vial in the center of the room. Gather round now in it, he said vaguely as the situation didn't require thus more. James felt the pull of something he knew he should not engage with. Eventually headlocked, he resisted. I think you're not stable enough because you haven't been treated human in life. Shame, James. You're an excellent student, they say. James held on. This challenge didn't need a stable house. I see Jacques has thought. What happens if I give in into the intriguing unknown? Jacques was pulled in double quick and exploded into the corner of the room upside down. Your curiosity will kill the cat here, or more like a shaved hamster really, being shaved efficiently running into the nitroglycerine. Boom goes the dynamite. Jacques was pulled in again and exploded into the corner. Everyone else passed, although you Evelyn you are sliding against and again like anxiety. Know that if you are a feeler when focused your feelings are more powerful. You're halfway to the middle in it, said a charming adult top student. He was happy no one had noticed his weaknesses. For the mind-probing part we have an alien, a master butt probber. He is harmless and useless really. Baron used to do it proficiently and professionally. It's about analyzing your brain, he said in a confusing Irish accent. When it was James' turn he felt nothing at first. He was having some strange thoughts. Do you feel anything strange? Said Ignatius. It's the unusual things you need to remove. Focus on it like an idea and remove it like you could flush it away with a spell. More strangeness came in waves and soon James spent going back and forth. When faced with powerful illusion you want to counterspell. Albuquerque squash fries and go backwards as you thought they had gone in your mind. He looked at the class. What the creator of the spell gets to name it. Remember class, we won't tolerate any use of Lotus Psychosis here. You will get kicked out of the dormitory and spanked with a dire baguette 757 times. What's Lotus Psychosis? Said James like a main character to his classmates. It's a drug that ruins your personality into a zombie and claims the souls of someone you never knew. Eventually you are a zombie, parched and dry, desperate for water. It's a problem on Ahenja. Maybe one should be careful criminalizing new drugs. You sound like an idiot. No, I just believe in decriminalization to reduce eventual crime, like an officer. If you make something like weed legal you stop drug lords, syndicates, killings and systems, infrastructure of crime, their illegal tricks and ways. They have to walk and get normal jobs. James would learn to turn himself into a rabbit, the ultimate vegan spell, in transmog class through top skill and solitude, unwavering intelligence. You must learn of animals through your heart, no thinking, feel what you need to feel, be an animal. Said a fat but short purple-dressed senior wizard. Like a toad she wasn't pretty but had have people confidence in her conservativeness. She made everyone play fair and could implement any magical system, giving order and productivity indeed while doing so. When transforming you must feel as an animal. When you feel the energy around you, you find a balance, use the balance to make the magic do what you want. James read through the many pages and details to the advanced magic. Before the teacher was done he read lightning quick and poof * turned himself into a black rabbit a meter long on his first attempt. Are you saying I'm not fast enough, James? Outstanding move. James went around the room at far from maximum speed, feeling inferior from the short height. The genius prodigy Nougat Nigel Learning University at 13 went to pet him. You get this without effort, James said in a sexy deep rabbit voice. Honestly, I feel I miss a lot of information from school, even if easy. He felt proud over his life like an adult. Transforming and trying to take Smala, but not staying as an animal. Nigel read and puffed into a grey Angora rabbit. He shrunk like a machine. He jumped to James. They laid next to each other in different directions and flopped. In the end, half the class succeeded. Nigel's older sister indeed turned into the nicest alligator. Next we will learn to inhabit strength and properties despite being a smaller animal. Some will always be lost. Second transmog class. Toad-looking Urquell ECHLM teacher said outside. There are spells only when in animal form. Echoing breaching boing is used to scale tall schools, galleries and maybe escape with an explosive start. It's not unlike getting launched by a bomb, it works on herbivores. Our school is full of rabbits, the furniture is new through in my dress. Most of the progress practice jumping as an animal can be quickened with this Dre Crude Curry steroid extract. No, it's not like those steroids with BI effects class. Think of a trampoline, wave your fingers in a spring and echo through the building diagonally. You've seen the students do it here, launching like steroid launchadors for late lunch. Attention was given to URK as she bent her interesting fat body into squatting. Like this, Urquell turned into an azure rabbit boing and exploded 400 meters diagonally. Before you could say scaredy cat, the rabbits were flying in all directions like overpowered long-eared uncatchables. Wow, she's not a toad, said Henko's little brother upperbody Uriel. He was twice as wide as tall with a large grin and knuckles reaching the floor giantly. With chicken legs, don't skip leg day even if your friend doesn't show up. This one is as useful as the practical lessons with Gentleman Duckard's easy magic to make you feel smart, primal mammoth instincts. Practice channeling this arduous spell to increase vision, hearing, smell, taste and touch as an animal. The hawk seagull has the best vision on Ahenger, although useless as catching the prey they see. Imagine yourself as a seagull, crazy isn't it? You can also see infrared and ultraviolet at elite level, the world is purple. Makes you less aggressive they say. The butterseal followed by the butterseal lion has the best hearing, infinite earholes almost, listen to Ulrich fart fireballs through the room. What about the giant sea parrot? Yes, the pirate parrot, bane of seamen like the diarrhea pigeon has almost the most acute hearing, 300 colors and survive like alpha centaurs. Remember to offend and confuse it with curses. Smell the tiniest amount of poison, said a student average and sweaty. Stand the taste of dwarf Guinness, said Arnaud. Keep going, said Urquell. Get overstimulated from touch, said Dragon Fan Fat Kid. Having stronger senses like a superhero is ideal, like imagine if you were deaf. What did you say, said Arnaud like he was gurgling wine. James whacked him strongly with a baguette which made Arnaud flip and bring the seat and desk with him. I'm sorry my friend is stupid, we're treating him acutely and desperately. James. I remember when we talked about the benefits of quantum mathematics and he was setting up a luxury restaurant meal in the back. Now when we are going to practice overexcited senses, it wouldn't hurt if you set up a French meal. Like Arnaud had been the biggest school sports star and had heard his significance, he set up a fine dining table with James and their friend Grey Jordan. They poshly drank in suits and were quiet in pretending privilege. You eat like a thick brown horse, said the fat kid. I don't concern myself with the opinions of the sheep, said Arnaud in upper echelons. Fat kid Fuba transformed into a rabbit and bit him in the forearm and James twisted his nipple which made Arnaud make a goatee bar sound. This works on French people. Going back to normal senses was disappointing but motivated James to do more of his physical training. Once a bodybuilder, once an animal with stronger senses. One thing James did as a rabbit was discovering the grounds, magically warmer and green some places. Other animals understood him, but they didn't have a language. He exited the purple antioxidant beet bushes and saw Ekberg's delicacy store and Ekberg picnicking with his wife. Visibly he jumped to the parasol, thinking not to transform into a human. Wow, what a big cute rabbit, said Ekberg. He was baldening underneath his bowler hat, but still had a thick grey moustache down to his chin 2 ways and the energy of his 50s. James flopped, breathed quickly through his nose. Do you want some of these dark chocolate-covered marshmallows with frozen raspberries? They're out of our stock now. Om nom nom. James thought it would be funny to jump over their stomach again, and it was very bunny-like. We're drinking some celebrity-sweetened and aroma-infused wine. James popped into bodybuilding form, wearing an armless black and 20% white suit, striped and striped shirt, and logically matching pants. Do you have any port? Berkeley hamster, you like bodybuilding? I can barely use the dwarven exercise machine my wife bought for me. You should train your entire body at once in it, she said, making you expect her to say anything more. Those machines are pretty boring, honesty, James said unexpectedly and kind of like wheezing. Sorry, I thought you were a stupid rabbit, said the wife vaguely. I have port fitting of Port Salut, he said and expertly exited. Our income is so erratic owning a shop, but we get a consistent amount of wizards. Looks like you're the closest to the university. Enter Port Edo 1104 with 2 expensive wine glasses and slices of cheese. I can thank you by inspecting your shop maybe. Do you have any stunning, mind-blowing cheese? I don't have any fat percentages, but I'm a gourmand. A gourmand makes you unhappy most of the time. You're looking for new things. You don't have to, but sure, Mr. Student. James left buying 6 boxes of marshmallow dark chocolate 70% off and a wheel of green pesto peanut black olive cheese that flavor-wise actually made complete sense. As James left in the university horizon like a gunslinger, the man exclaimed to his wife, "That boy is crazy for buying a wheel of cheese. What is he going to do with that?" It was a big wheel. How much money did you make? Even in the night, James explored vegetation and other animals. Other rabbits were friendly and could have been other students. James crashed through the window of Ekberg's delicacy shop as a rabbit, having launched 400 meters approximately. "What a big cute rabbit, you're like a ball of hugs," said Ekberg with his mustaches almost muffling the voice. The room was dark wood with charming wooden rough tables, thick custom-made wide legs, sometimes barely cut. It was rustic and sold rustic coffee. It smelled of capital kind of nasty smells and breadsticks, fried bread. James just nosed around herbs and carefully jumped. "I have smelly cheese straight from Paris. Would you be a customer?" "I am not James Rabbit," said James deep and sexy. "I am just a cannonball rabbit." "Is it bad lucky being shot through the window by a black rabbit?" James finally puffed into unyielding chest day form. "Honestly, I'm going crazy," he said hyperbolic, from the green pesto cheese. "It's like a party in Valhalla. Do you have any more? Anything from the same brand?" "We have dried tomato garlic cheese from the same brand," said Ekberg, nailing another customer like a carpenter putting in a nail with one hammer strike. "I'll buy it, I think, but can I try it anyway?" Back to rabbit form. Om nom nom. "Wow, that is some fatty flavors, like a mix between 2 butters. Do you want a wheel again?" If it's interesting, James transformed back into human form. "Do you want me to donate an ingot to this fine small business?" "Yes, I think I do, sir." "I'll buy 3 wheels then, 9,000 quid right." Ekberg went and brought the 3 wheels he had. James pulled a 10.000 purple Maystar ingot from his Babylon Infinite hamster. The hamster seemed addled but flexible. "You won't believe the gold clover of insane adventures. Give me 1,000 back." "Anything else?" "Krug and Chardonnay, 25-year-old. You should try Alchemist Gold Buckle. Wizards increase their arrogance and slurp with purple lips." "Chardonnay and Alchemist then. If you drink Chardonnay 975, you will want more though. Blessed are those who can afford." "Find a way to increase your income." James went into a wheezing Spanish fat laughter. James put the basket into the hamster, then broke another window, jumping, concerned with studies. In Air, Thunder and Sparkles class, James was fighting Arnaud. James had a groping pose fitting his giant hands. "Stop, Arnaud, you can't take his punches." "Yes, I can EUHUEG. Arnaud just gets more handsome as you beat him up." Arrogant power, sparkling connection. Arnaud glided through his groping and zapped his buttocks with his fingers. "Ouch. I'm just testing your connectivity." Arnaud sidestepped a slap but then got hit by a knuckle. In slow-mo, fittingly, we can see James made a lightning power plant requiem punch. Blue eyes blazed as James made an impact of muscular lightning. Lightning jetted everywhere. Arnaud's face was chiseled as he laid on the ground on his side, body resting on elbow. Glass pyramid stealth. Arnaud tiptoed around until James showed his back. Counter baguette. Arnaud's both thumbs inwards, fist closed, emitted distorting lightning on his arm. James was stunned for 2 seconds, then attacked competitively. Greased lightning. James hit Arnaud in a blur of finger pistols, index finger. "Come on, James, use the particle technique. I can take it as a superior assassin." Super Collider. James smashed Arnaud into a cube with the sound of a gigantuan hammer slamming down on an anvil, and then he flew across the training room for elemental magics. "Wow, he took that like a puffy poodle," said Ignatus. "That's the worst I've seen since Apple Whiskey Wizard transmogged into a Nokia under the hydraulic press." No one seemed to blame James. Ignatus, teaching competent magic, again proclaimed, "That was a good demonstration of the techniques. Everyone read to page 37 and I'll allow you more 1 versus 1s. Lightning flows on weirdness like magical ability is mana blue." "You were holding back, right, James?" whispered Ignatus Fiddlefire Imp and turned his head. "I think I can reach records of strength if I keep practicing Super Collider." "Lightning is air magic," said Ignatus intelligent. "Air magic when angry someone stepped on your chemistry set. You can still change the winds, stop arrows and fly when you reach last year." Uriel pet his pink cat. It was a 3-tailed wide-faced cat that could eat like an adult. In potions class they were making strength solutions. I know lightweights who pop strength solutions constantly and beat every beatnik, said Dwarf Alfaro with a bronze mohawk and square-edged nose the size of a fat fist. It gives me diarrhea. Shut up, said Alfaro. He was known for throwing piercing red javelins and being one of the few survivors of military black hole Tar Bay in Ahenja. There is ephemeral strength solutions that makes you equally weak afterwards, but they're stronger. With your options skill you will learn to make strong nerd potions, to muscular insecurity and even extreme strength. Tell me again how you hold the fort at Blackhold, said James. With these bare hands, said Alfaro. Wizard's misspelling, it's useful for other things than getting drunk, like finding your keys, glasses and fridge. It cleanses your kitchen sink and cures you from arcane underbite and lisp. If you want a worse wizard's misspelling you can grind down a baguette instead of bratwurst, finish with cream cheese when stirred teal. Arnaud's cauldron exploded. Shit in my baguette, said Arnaud. I see you let it harden in laziness. There's crucial moments and moments that doesn't matter. What an idiot, said James. Fat kid Fuba forthright stole the rest of his ingredients. You can have 1 pint of misspelling each. Write down a summary of alcohols. They are related to bombs we can see from alchemy. Transcontextually you need alcohol lessons for alchemy. James thought the words were dancing as he finished just a few sentences. What goes with the rest of the misspelling? We're going to use them to clean the toilets for giants. 3 birds, outstanding tit, were sitting on the balcony. Fuba started inflating the one in the middle with a flick of the wrist and wand. He's not going to land, you oaf titnave, said Saphira. He's just going to release some pressure. Fuba, surprisingly dominant against the weak, deflated the tit and it farted like butt magicians. There was no chill as the next alchemy lesson was alcohols and bombs. Aqua Dragon Bombs covers your opponent in the toxic liver kidneys of the aquatic lizard. It sticks like blue jelly, doesn't really come off and in 2 minutes renders the target paralyzed and unconscious. It needs dwarf obsidian liquor, bard's bleat, dragon intestines, mixed scales, red phosphorus, red sulfur, said Adventurous Eyes Sorcerer. We're also going to make dragon's nitroglycerin, which is the cannonball elves use in the Dragon Siege. It is the premier explosive. It is chemically very close to the ADHD medicine Adderall. James read the book Vegan Hamburgers and Elven Explosives. Nitroglycerin is unstable. It needs a primer to ignite safely. The primer is pressure-sensitive graphite that hit your target fast. Enter magical history. James sat down with wizards and creatures of every kind of ear, nose and cheekbone. The first dwarf was Magellan Blackbane. He was short, shorter than short, with a flat head and cloven black beard that was long enough to go to his knees, then braided into the 2 cloven beards back again, in circles. His warhammer was like a smith's hammer and hair, forever baldening since 25, but he lived on and on egregiously. Always adaptable for new things, new ideas, new investments, gold and clover. 400 years his line could live, blessed with natural long life, strength and endurance, quicker when you had to run away from tall, shadowy onlookers. Fate looking out for them, natural sprinters, strength of men. The line of Magellan spread and conquered. They were energetic and always in surprisingly good health no matter the mead and meat. For they were resilient like there were no saturated fat, they could beat the meaty diet and die from another reason. Dwarves befriended the continent and animals and sometimes didn't actually build underground. Black dwarves settled in desert thought to be mostly extinct. They were known for their trade and universities. They always had black hair and white irises, grey skin that felt like scorched leather, and used spells and runes to tame the deserts. They made ships that magically conquered and glid on the sand and over sand dunes, said to go through to the land of the dead and into time where enemy ships were near. Some ships were cursed and always won the battles, but they could never claim their treasure, says the legend. One guess is that they would not be able to continue existing. They had ballista and war machines on deck and under, mechanical Greek giant arms, on the ship, and chemical fire. The first enemy of Blackbane is said to be the necromancer Dragrundra. She had conquered the first colony of dwarves and had to be defeated by Magellan himself. She summoned an army of the dead near infinite. He could not get through the speed of the summoning cowardly. He had to patiently deal with every single undead, but she ran away still when possible with agile, light steps. Cornered Dragrundra could only shoot javelins, but the shield of Magellan were thick and round. She had daggers and swords she threw like a ballista. So concerned with godhood, Magellan danced confidently and deflected as many times she could be stubborn +1. In the end she only had her words against Magellan and was smashed into an ingot and sold for 500 quid. Magellan had the patience to make a kingdom and protect it. The children of Magellan were Marcus, Mandrake and Mirthana. It is said you can still see the lineage of Magellan in the potato shape of their noses, speech and frisk, obvious longevity. The dwarves mined and delved, masons built cities in mountains and under. Blessed craftsmanship, fletching and smithing. Feytweave May shooting star gleamed in their halls, adamant floor, mithril roof and on the battlefield. Dwarves are friends of rodents like hamsters and mount different beasts rather than horses, so much to choose from. There is said to be new stronger generations of dwarves every few hundred years. If they are not slain in war or sicknesses targeted to dwarves, eventually they will be stronger than elves. Not everyone has been tolerant of dwarves, just like some women have length standards. They have fought to survive and just to be who they are. The second enemy of dwarves were the elves in the first age of dwarves counting. They thought they could capitalize on the dwarves when they were small, easy prey and resourceful plunder. Aggressively and without consciousness, the battle superior elves attacked. The elves had their wild beast bows, but the dwarves had indomitable perfect defense. Some dwarves can be so defense-oriented it's ridiculous, using ingots and formations, turning them into metal beasts plus magical defense. We've never heard the secrets. The battles went back, but not forever. The elves were cocky against the mechanical war machines and defense structures, thought it would not be a problem, thought they could beat it with skill. At the most even point at Fortress Indomitable, a giant tree on an ocean hosting all the superior military of the elves, dwarf assassins took out every single military leader. The dwarves took back their lands with superior offensive siege in a blur and never lost much more again underground. James as a historian were triggered and ambitious hearing such tales. They might be extinct on Earth, but has anyone else tried Einherjar or another plane? Einherjar is explored enough, said the teacher. There are enemies, but the deserts do not hide dwarves. Keep exploring dungeons or the barbarian history, James the Dungeoneer, said a shrewd classmate top of his class. On the next weekend, James went dungeoneering with Arnaud. They went to the library to find mentions about desert dwarves. An animated magical book said unto them, the last whereabout of the desert dwarves lies in the dungeons of the North Pole of Einherjar, and just because this book is from Solga Docks, I live here, come chat about plants, I love gardening and art, go to the never talked about last icy North Wyvern caverns. They asked his rabbit they had named Spartacus the Undefeated if both could ride. He said, I am concerned with not having enough energy to travel. I need food and it has to be delicious as well. My rabbit friend, you can jump on reserve energy for weeks, but I can find you lettuce fit for a Spartan. You speak to the rabbit. Are you some kind of idiot? A spell expensive, demanding, eccentric, and I don't always clear.
This sentence used to say, you speak to rabbit, you're some kind of genius, but idiot, you're just better in every way.
A spell expensive, demanding, eccentric, and I don't always clearly hear what they say. You mumble as well. Oh, of course, magic. Arnaud clasped his head ironically and changed cigarette from side to side accented. They managed after a general store to give the rabbit rye baguette with butter, cheddar and romaine lettuce. They all did. Nom nom nom. I don't love lettuce, it's just what we bunnies eat, nom nom. I feel complete as I eat. Me too, said James. After traveling for 3 hours, they came across an ice mountain with many plateaus. They would have missed the exit of a dungeon, but James noticed Yak Chai, the wolf-willer. Getting closer, James dismounted Spartacus and said, we're gonna go in from behind. Stay here with more lettuce. Look, there's some frozen tundra plants thither. I'm going in rocket style. Hop onto my back. James used all his fire magic prowess to rocket forwards and up a snow slope. They flew up 50 meters over the slope and then forward 75, landing on the plateau. The stew was delicious. You think you can fight the wolf ferret, I mean killer, twice and live to tell the tale? If I don't defeat you with one kick Yak Chai latte, you can throw me down. Yak Chai looked at Arnaud. You better not interfere, then smoking Frenchman. This is so toxic, *ehug, if I only had a filter to this tobacco poorly produced. Wolf-Liller Speed, Blitz Blancet. Arskiga Series, Stylos Arcane Superior 300 Impact. Arskiga Series, Stylos Arcane Superior 300 Impact. Like hit by a giant robot's plasma cannon, Yak Chai said, oof, and broke the ground of the plateau. The kick was so fast it had broken the sound barrier. It was intensive and savage, so close. Shot diagonally down he followed until he broke the ground of the tundra and some lava came up streaming at the bottom. James' foot was on fire from the speed and Yak Chai left a similar trail of smoke. Okay, we're at the slope exit of a dungeon. Lay down now, Mr. Ehug, and I shall push you with my hands. They laid thus after each other, then James shot him up the slope with his rocket feet. They came into a huge cave half-colored in ice with extra long barbarian runes and chests. A white dragon with twice as long head and wing feathers instead of scales, teal eyes Arctic beautiful, had their back to them reading some poetry of Ankerschmidt the Arrogant. Wherefore is this bullshit hither? The dragon's voice was way too loud and echoing. Did you read a cheating book? The dragon shrieked. Instant full butter rye croissant. Arnaud took the lead and assaulted faster than the eye could see. The dragon tried to bite him and slap as he changed position every 0.5 seconds in the air. Arnaud jumped upon the dragon neck and exclaimed Alpha and Omega, absolute unit. He was covered in gleaming silver, his baguette as well, then the baguette shone holy, blinding the dragon. The dragon shrieked and tossed around as the empowered baguette pierced flesh and broke dragon bones. Blood spouted everywhere. The dragon started spinning in the air and rammed the wall to get rid of Arnaud. He twacked it one last time and started throwing explosive pain au chocolat from the ground instead. The dragon smashed the ground, breaking it, and started screeching extremely loud wide rays of sound. Arrgh, the sound, it's going to kill us, do something. Then James figured out if he just dislocated the 3 ear bones magically they would hear less than nothing. Magically they were soon fine. James did thumbs up to Arnaud and he changed his look back to the dragon. James started to charge impact magic into his fists, focusing until all his mana was used. His veins glowed white and muscles bigger and blacker, anger veins popped out in his forehead and everything was oxidized like a jungle. Arnaud threw ephemeral baguettes like javelins at the dragon. It got hit near the heart but caught one in the mouth. Gluten switch. Arnaud snapped his fingers, the baguette exploded into smoke and French chocolate bon mammon petty and the dragon shrieked, flailing its head injured but was just as dangerous. Terrible Dutch cheese. Arnaud filled the dragon's smell senses with horrible cheese, still tasty and not old, just horrible smelling. Green magic gleamed as the dragon threw up blood and skeletons which also made it breathe acid. James took this opportunity to with rocket feet attack the dragon's head. Hulk blood pressure. James slammed his hands together over the dragon's head. The impact broke its head into 2 parts held together by skin, also making a cut in the dungeon walls and roof. Some pedestals and statues and pillars broke like they were expensive at a museum. All I ever wanted was to be powerful. Power, said the dragon in a normal dragon voice, then it died. And it turns out the dragon dies in a frost nova, exploding from its heart, knocking both members to opposite sides of the cave wall. Wow, that actually makes me so sad, said Arnaud. He got the heart of an empath, it seemed. He felt dark and hollow, like walking in the endless darkness of the depressed, a grey walk you carry on, but there seems to be nothing sensible keeping you going, because he had been. Yeah man, what can I say, death is wrong when beautiful creatures die. Maybe it's the last of its kind. Arnaud blamed himself and got so low it was actually draining his body the will to live. His heart missed a few beats. I actually saved the last of a dragon kind, Gluttony the Golden. Golden cunt. I gave it my cheese and discussed cuisine. I will live to 150, thus I gave it delicacy Gruyere that didn't even taste like Gruyere anymore, I think. Very punchy, like it was a day old. Gruyere is a good cheese, the Frenchman said instantly, because it was about France and good meaning excellent, like that's obviously what it meant. I read in this library book about magical creatures that the fairy dragon's organs and bones are crazy expensive, even the remains of its heart. I think we have just vanquished a great foe. That was a fairy frost dragon. Yes sure man, the elven chapter I made it even to page 110. I made it to page 200, the guy is knowledgeable but he writes like cement. Wow, that is very good. I know some history teachers that could put you to sleep just by being present. Like a habit to fall asleep on a golden red puffy couch. I think he was named Cement, actually. Clement. As a genius I don't feel bad dissecting the corpse, it's like doing science. That does not make me feel better. Here, grab this baguette saw. James got bluer as he dissected meat like a pro, removing bones, not puncturing organs. He didn't know that this would make him a pro as a cook. Gordon Ramsay could be heard saying shithead spiritually in the backgrounds. Arnaud heard voices from the second-most boss room. You should buy a magically space-confined bag. They can store your loot and you can make them unopenable until you're at home or lighten the load. Expensive, of course. Exponentially, I say. If you put 2 bags into each other, you create a black hole. Or maybe in Cheek Infinite Hamster, you fit it into your pockets easily and the cheeks can store anything and lighten the weight by 80%. He lit a cigar that got blown out. You should buy cigars from Cuba if you're smoking, otherwise what's the point? I can't afford Cuban cigars. Maybe they're cola, he said too honestly. I'll buy it for you if you smoke it. Okay friend, whatever he said accent thickest, I'll buy you French food and wine. Prepare your liver for the French. EUHUEG. I'm glad I can drink all the wine I want by my muscly size. Wine one should drink for the taste. I know some French giant wrestlers who drink several bottles before going on stage. ILSNE remarquerant par. Crowd didn't notice. True. Onto the barbarian wisdom. They heard a voice like a barbarian historian and a bit like an alien. This is the key to plain desolation or ostracized dead. You did not look for this quest, but you will like where it leads. Other barbarians thought we traveled in theory as we gazed open the endless furnace and found water only where there is death and struggle. Find water first, then riches. Don't worry about the dead dragon, they are cursed to reincarnate quick and serve here. Their lust for power is not good. It also said in a smaller different text next to the runes, Thorbert can wrap circles around Haraldson. He found the red and black keystone in the chest, he put it into his keychain epic with anticipation. He heard swords clashing and its smoke lodging into place, the keychain too blazed hot. James dropped it by surprise. They loaded the rabbit, James used rocket feet at the back making the rabbit kind of hover, taking 3 times as long rabbit jumps. Christ, you want to sell the bones for just 16,000 quid? You won't find anything like this again. James had spoken to sell the dragon stuff at the Curiosity.
What do you mean I'm making fun of the French? Can't possibly copy any French people in chat. I'm a totally respectable character. I have a genius intelligence, 145, right? He isn't very stereotypical. Yeah, there isn't any. The whole point was saying this, that damn it.
You won't find anything like this again. James had spoken to sell the dragon stuff at the curiosity shop L'Aristocratie Sauvage. The working man had to contract the owner, which was on one of his ships at the docks. Yeah, sure, whatever. Can you go down a little bit? 15,000 is a nice, round number. Yes, it is a round number. I'll buy everything. How much do you think you will profit on this? Said Arnaud, businesslike, honest and curious. 15 to 75% indeed. It is rare stuff. Was it already dead? Smell my finger. We killed it in a dungeon. I don't believe you, but I don't have to. Pleasure doing business. You should put the bones in a museum, said Arnaud, fierce. I can send letters to museums asking for a higher price, maybe. The captain stepped onto his modernly huge steel icebreaker powered by steam and water wheels. I'm going to a bow and gun shop. They have this black powder discovered in China already and they can make muskets. Well, they're pretty much one-timers, so slow to reload. Where I'm from they're outdated already. What should I buy instead of that? Then he asked competitively. Buy these magically infused bullets of fossil. I have read, in the library again, technology section. I only read magazines really about psychology. Arnaud bought a sniper musket with ridiculously huge sight and James Chapter 4 magical black powder pistols. They decided to take 2 courses in water magic first. Indeed, there was rehydration. They could suck the moisture out of living things with beginner magic. Hunger slap was an alternative. They could suck the water out of people's blood like vampires. They could make drinkable salt-free water from nothing or their magical stamina with advanced magic. They could also boil awful water sources, teachers said. Water they brought with them in different energy states. They teleported to the North Pole Wasteland where they could go back, then used the keychain. After trying different activation sequences they...
Can you believe I missed 2 English courses? Basically I was doing this gymnasium thing in different schools. It was like science and math and you didn't have to do French or English. And the end I skipped the 7th and 8th English course, did 9th. I got maximum grades and then I completed the other 2 automatically, like that.
They teleported to the North Pole Wasteland where they could go back, then used the keychain. After trying different activation sequences they tried melting the key and it worked. They had a spiritual experience, chasing energy, being chased by spiritual foxes. Like a shooting star it went through them, not...
No, whatever, let's stop there. Not through the whole thing. Shit is good though. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye.